Good morning, everyone. How many participants until now?
55, I think. 59.
Okay. Okay. So we will start our webinar on cybersecurity. I will start by a welcome speech. Then I will give a brief presentation about the project, because this webinar is in the framework of an Erasmus Plus project about enhancing teaching and learning and graduate employability through university enterprise cooperation. First, I will address a welcome speech on behalf of Beirut Arab University. Then I will present briefly the project about what exactly. And after that, I will speak about the program of the webinar, and then we will start our webinar. So, dear guest speakers, dear representative colleagues from partner institutions, dear all guests and attendees, ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to welcome you to all at BAU, hoping it can be face-to-face, but unfortunately due to the pandemic, hoping it will end soon. We are using the Teams platform for this opening webinar on my modern cybersecurity, educational and technical perspective. As I said, within the Erasmus Plus project, enhancing teaching, learning, and graduate employability through university enterprise cooperation, elegant, and hoping, of course, this project is elegant, as its name. I would like to thank first the European Union for its effort to support and finance this Erasmus Plus project, and welcome you all participants in this event. I speak about just a few words about BAU. Beirut Arab University is committed since its foundation to promoting quality education. We continuously look to improve the academic and administrative services by constantly upgrading these services to conform to international standards. In this regard, BAU created the Academic Development and Quality Assurance Center, as well as Internal Quality Assurance Unit in all faculties. One of the main achievements also can be summarized by getting international accreditation for the institutions, as well as academic programs as follows. We have FIBA from Germany for the institution, as well as for business administration and for law. We have RIBA for Faculty of Architecture from UK, engineering programs, all engineering programs, and computer science from ABET in US. Dentistry from Europe, pharmacy from Canada, physical therapy from WCPT, and most of Faculty of Human Sciences from AHPGS from Germany. Of course, BAU relevant strategic objectives are in alignment with the project activities, especially we have at BAU a career alumni and career office, where the objective of this career or the objectives of this career office are in line with the objectives of this project. Our objective of the career office are to gather university graduates in Lebanon and abroad, to help a graduate organize their relation with the professional order and union, to encourage a graduate to cooperate to each other in terms of unifying existing goals and help new graduates to find suitable job, to study the labor market, and to pursue opportunity for jobs available outside Lebanon. Urge graduates from lobbies and alumni association or communication in Lebanon to abroad to communicate with existing association, and of course with links with industry to support the university and continuous developments. Ladies and gentlemen, with the attendance of many specialists we have in this webinar, and people with different background, more beneficial, of course, idea experiences, best practice can be shared on this string. I look forward to see, and I hope so, positive outcomes from this event, and I hope you will enjoy this webinar organized by Beirut Arab University. I will move now to the project itself, the Elegant project. The Elegant project, as I said, it's one of the Erasmus capacity building project. This project objectives aims to enhance university enterprises cooperation in Jordan and Lebanon in order to improve teaching and learning in partner universities, enhance the employability of graduates, and create conditions for applied research cooperation and knowledge transfer between partner higher education institutions and enterprises. The specific objectives are to stimulate the development of an enterprise cooperation culture at partner universities, and at our university, we will, of course, enhance the activities of the career office and to create the liaison officer between the university and the enterprises. And the second specific objective is to develop new forms of industry education by establishing industry liaison office, as I said, arranging a placement of students and companies and involving many companies, managers, and lecturing and mentoring student project. And I think this series of webinar, as we will see, and this webinar are in line with this second specific objective. Of course, to improve the ICT as specific objective, ICT curricula in computer engineering as well as in computer science, and upgrade the capacity of academic and technical staff and equipment of partner university through study visits to EU partner institutions. It was planned this year, but due to the pandemic, unfortunately, it's postponed. We hope soon this pandemic will end and we can have physical seminar instead of webinar, and we can have physical visit. And of course, the last objective, specific objective, to strengthen the internationalization of partner country institutions. This project, of course, the partner are four European university partners. First, University of Dubrovnik, Croatia, the coordinator of this project, and I think we have one of our colleague, Iraj Hashi, from this. Many thanks to your effort, Iraj. Staffordshire University from UK, University Politecnica della Marche from Italy, and Psychological Portugal. From Jordan, we have four institutions: Princess Sumaya University of Technology, Jordan University of Science and Technology, Al Balqa University, ABAU, and the Information of Communication and Technology Association in Jordan. In Lebanon, we are three partners: Beirut Arab University, Modern University for Business and Science, and the Syndicate for Computer Science, represented, I think, by our colleague Dr. Johanna Mugarak. Of course, there is a complete link, as I said, in this project in line of our objective with the computer engineering program tracks, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, the theme of our webinar today, and I think this one was the theme of another webinar. The research of area, we have many research areas at the computer engineering where cybersecurity and artificial intelligence are both, and we held a webinar about that. As I said, this webinar is in line with the second objective, and a series of webinars are being organized within this scope of this project. First one organized by MUBS using Zoom on September 23rd. It was about enhancing IT graduate employability through skills development and curricula innovation. Second one was held in November 11, 2020, about recent trend in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Third webinar, our webinar today, about modernizing cybersecurity education and technical perspective. And the fourth webinar, all of you are invited to attend this webinar. It's about emerging trend in ICT and entrepreneurship and innovation and educational and industrial perspective. It will take place on December 9th, 2020, and it will be also under Microsoft Teams platform. What is the aim of our cybersecurity today? The event, this event features webinar on modern cybersecurity from the educational and technical perspectives. The event comprises three main tracks, as I said, and panel discussion. The tracks are cybersecurity on higher education, cybersecurity in research, and cybersecurity in industry. And we have a panel discussion at the end of this webinar. The first track, as I said, is on cybersecurity in higher education. It includes topics on cybersecurity integration in science and engineering education, programs and curricula, accreditation, modern courses, design courses, and the pedagogy, and more. We have three speakers in this webinar, and I think it's okay for me, and we have within the time. The first speaker with us today, before starting with the speaker, I think we organized the webinar such that each regular session structure will include 15 minutes presentation and 3 minutes for questions and answers. So the total time is 18 minutes, and I will have 2 minutes at least to introduce the next speaker. So in the first session about cybersecurity in higher education, we have 3 speakers, Dr. Thomas Paskowski, Dr. Marco Baldi, and Mr. Tawfiq Karam. We will start with the first speaker, Dr. Marco Baldi from Polytechnic University of Marci, Italy. Excuse me, I think, no, Dr. Thomas before, Dr. Thomas from Staffordshire University, United Kingdom. He is currently a course leader for Master of Computer Science, Computer Networks and Security at Staffordshire University. In addition, he has been a course leader for Master Cybersecurity. He is a member of the University Cisco teaching team and a qualified Cisco instructor. He also works with their international partner in China and Malaysia with Staffordshire University. So, Dr. Thomas, you have, as I said, 18 minutes, 15 minutes for a presentation, and 3 minutes for discussion. So I will stop share me. You can share your screen, and the floor is yours, Doctor, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just
you can share your screen on.
Okay. Can you hear me good?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Okay. Just checking, can you see my PowerPoint now?
Yes, yes, we can see. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Tomasz Basakowski. I work at Staffordshire University in the United Kingdom. I'm a lecturer at the School of Computing and Digital Technologies, and I'm one of the course program leader for our postgraduate MSc courses. In particular, I'm looking after our cybersecurity pathway, and then my main role is to day-to-day management. Sorry, just increase the screen. Okay, sorry, I'll just make a full screen now. My main role is to day-to-day management of the course, recruitment, but also reviewing of the program as well. So today I will focus on market expectation, market needs, what we do in terms of reviewing, what we do in terms of making sure that our course is up to date, is current, and it met market expectation and needs. So what we do is, obviously, we collect feedback from the industry. We collect feedback also from students, because to be honest with you, most of our students are professionals, so they work in industry already. They have very good work experience. They can also bring something to that program. And also by attending, for example, this conference today, because we've got today speakers from different countries, from Jordan, Lebanon, Italy, and cybersecurity, cyber threats is a global issue. So it's not just looking at the UK, but also looking what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Jordan, and then bringing that to the table basically and creating the best course we can. So just to give you a bit of background, we used to have MSc Cybersecurity. We just changed the name to MSc Computer Science, bracket Cybersecurity. So we've got 4 pathways here. The specialist pathways, and one of them is cybersecurity. In the UK, the course is full-time course is approximately a year, so 13 months. So that's 3 semesters if students study that in full-time mode. Just to give you some background, obviously students need to complete first an undergraduate honors degree first, so that's 3 years before they can study an MSc course. So sort of in some countries, MSc is actually 5 years. Here in the UK, it's 1 year. Having said that, as I mentioned, they need sort of that undergraduate degree first. So it's, as I mentioned, it's 1 year, 3 semesters, and students can study either in full-time or part-time mode, and they can do this on campus, which means they've got access to resources, or they can study distance learning, which means online, something what we do now. So I'm sort of online doing lectures and provide them with all the resources via our virtual learning environment, Blackboard. The other thing is that when we design a course or when we review a course, which we do every sort of 4 years to make sure course is current, there are some requirements for those master courses in the UK. And the first thing I want to mention is QAA subject benchmark. So QAA stands for Quality Assurance Agency. So this is the independent body, and they advise on standards and quality in the United Kingdom. Okay, so this is like a independent body, as I mentioned. So they make sure that all the master degrees are high quality. And they've got what they call subject benchmarks for master degrees in computing. And obviously our courses met those benchmarks, met those statements. And this is basically the benchmarks describe standards that are expected from students sort of once they complete this course. So this is in a way also linked to the industry, also linked to market expectation, because those benchmarks are designed by sort of subject experts to make sure students can find a job once they complete the course. So this is one of the things we need to do. The other thing I want to mention is accreditations. So in the UK, we've got a number of professional statutory bodies. This particular course at Staffordshire University is accredited by the British Computer Society. So this is in a way independent validation that our course is high standard, basically. And what does it bring, basically, is that students, when they know that course is accredited, they know it's a good quality, and at the same time, companies will hire those students because they know that this course was very good, and the students who complete this course, they've got skills and knowledge needed to work in the cyber field. So that's sort of a brief background about our courses. In terms of accreditation, we have to mention, especially in the UK, we have to mention, and cybersecurity, we have to mention National Cybersecurity Center. So this is government organization. Okay, so this is the government organization, and they provide advice and support to the public and private sector in how to avoid, cyber-related threats. So this is sort of one point of contact for all the organization, all the companies, and they sort of provide all those advice and support. Now, at the same time, they set the standards for good cybersecurity degrees, okay, in higher education in the UK. And this is something I would sort of encourage anyone who is designing a course or reviewing a course to look at that, because they provide those sort of high standards, what that course should be, what that course should include. So from the sort of employer's perspective, if course is accredited by NCSC, they know students who complete this course, they've got very high standards, they've got very good skills in cybersecurity, practical skills, soft skills, and they've got very good knowledge. So there is a very high chance that those students will be employed once they graduate. It's also good for the universities because students ask about that. So they ask about this particular accreditation, and they typically choose a course that is accredited by NCSC. At the moment, we are not accredited. I just want to mention that that's because this course, cybersecurity course, is quite new. So we will have first graduates shortly, and then we can go through that accreditation process. So NCSC, as I mentioned, they provide a lot of resources, and one of them is Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge. So this is example, this is an example of this resource. The Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge, they divide cybersecurity into sort of categories, areas, and sort of subtopics. And as you can see, I just give you really a sample here of that document, which is used basically to map those areas, those cybersecurity areas, with a course. So again, it's a very good source to make sure that the course cover all the sort of different subject areas that are related to cybersecurity. So you can see here we've got infrastructure security as a main category, and then you can see a number of areas. One of them is network security, for example, and then we've got sort of very specific topics, so network defense tools, and here we've got things like IDS or IPS, intrusion detection systems or prevention systems, and as you can see, it's quite detailed. And then what will happen when you design a course or review a course, you can sort of use this table to indicate whether you met those, whether you cover those topics in your course and how you do that. So you can access that through National Cybersecurity Center, so you can access this resource from there. So that's in terms of accreditation. As I mentioned, employers really looking at that, and students as well, increase student employability. The other thing is sort of employer-driven needs, market expectations. So this is just a couple of aims from the program, from our cybersecurity program. I didn't sort of present all of them because there's no time, but just to sort of summarize those aims, really, if you look at them, what we really want to do is to produce sort of graduates that can be employed, that are market ready, okay, that they can basically go and find a job very quickly, and they've got all the skills they need. So you can see here we're sort of looking at to sort of develop master level knowledge, skills, sort of in cybersecurity, digital forensics, in the context of employer-driven needs, emerging markets, and contemporary subject are within a discipline, which is basically cybersecurity. What do we do? Again, just a couple of points. So what do we do to make sure this program meets market expectations? First of all, we invite industry, so we organize guest lectures. Okay, so this is like guest lectures, seminars, mini conferences. So we bring them to the university so they can talk to students. So that's the first thing we do. The other thing is we also encourage students to do a placement, so internship. So this is typically 12 months. Okay, an example is we've got, for example, links with not just companies, but also government organizations, so like Staffordshire Police, where students can go and work for 12 months on a project related to cybersecurity, because this is something what employers looking for. So they, apart from sort of academic qualifications, employers looking for candidates who got also some kind of work experience. So that placement is for that, basically. So students will graduate, receive sort of academic qualification, but at the same time they will have work experience as well, because they did that 12 months placement. At the same time, we try to embed quite a lot of certification into our modules. Typically, each module embeds some kind of certification. This is also important for industry. They're looking for students who's got certifications, because that's, again, that show that they've got skills. They can use vendor specific, for example, resources. And again, it's something the market expect from graduates. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So this is just a brief structure. Obviously, I won't go. There's not enough time to go into details, but as you can see, we've got sort of. This is the first.
Yes. You still have 4 minutes for presentation and then for discussion. 4 minutes for presentation.
Thank you. Yes, I'm checking the time. Just a bit worried. I've got still a couple of PowerPoints. So
no problem. So, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is basically as you can see, this is our structure. We've got 3 semesters. At this PowerPoint, you can only see the first 2 semesters. I will show you in a moment the last semester. Each semester there are 4 modules, and they all 15 credits. So as you can see, we've got, looking at just at those titles, you will see that we cover, apart from cyber sort of security, which is, as you can see, cyber operations, we also sort of cover quite a lot on digital forensics. So digital forensic is quite, so you can see there is at least 2 modules here, digital forensic fundamentals and mobile forensics. This is very specific modules to digital forensics. We've got professional secure networks and penetration testing. So this is very related to network security. And we've got sort of cyber operations and operating system security modules, which are sort of more related to, OS security, security operation centers. I pick up one module I will show you what sort of things we do in terms of employability skills. So this will be professional secure networks. This module is fixed. So this is a standard. All master degrees have a research methods module, which prepares students for the dissertation, which they do in the last semester. So let's have a look quickly at that one of the module, which actually I'm teaching this module, Professional Secure Networks. And in terms of employability skills, this is something what we do. So this is actually feedback from the industry. This is what they expect from students. Okay, so when I talk to companies, they say one of the things they're looking for is basically soft skills. So things like presentation skills, so doing a presentation like I'm doing now, or things like report writing skills. Some students are very good. They've got very good skills, practical skills, but the soft skills are a bit weaker. And this is what we're trying to embed as well into the module. So we've got, for example, assessment, which will ask student to do a short presentation and maybe write a short report. So we're trying to teach them those skills. Obviously, this is a very practical module. So what we do, we've got real equipment, which allows students basically to access real state-of-the-art sort of enterprise hardware, which is in this case is Cisco equipment, so Cisco routers, switches, and firewalls. So that gives them very good experience. They can go to work and they'll be very familiar with those devices. And this is exactly what the what employers are looking for. At the same time, we give them option to do certifications. So in this case is Cisco or Juniper. We've got links with those two vendors, and students, when they complete this module, they can do, if they wish to, obviously they can do those certification. And again, that will increase their employability chance. Our assessments are typically sort of real life scenarios. So I can see it's 1 hour, typically 1 hour, very practical test, because that will simulate that real life where you are under pressure to fix a system, to fix a network, because obviously company is losing a lot of money. You know, every minute costs money. So we want to give them that sort of realistic assessment. So that's just an example of some of, you know, of one of the module, and I would say that all of the modules I presented here sort of follow this, those points. Once they finish those 8 modules, they do the dissertation, and this is a mini project. So this is a mini project they do. It's 60 credits. What do they do is up to them, but really this is the last PowerPoint, so I will finish in 10 seconds. Sorry for that. And what they do, well, we send them to placements. We really encourage them to do their placement, because once they go to their placement, so this is give them sort of that experience working in a professional environment, and then they get some idea what to do for that dissertation. And typically, when they finish the dissertation, they are typically employed by this company, because they, as I mentioned, they've got some idea what to do, and that sort of increase their chance to be employed at the end. So thank you very much. I do apologize. I just was a bit.
Thank you very much. Please, you can stop share your screen.
I did now, yes.
First, thank you very much. I think I don't have enough time to question, but I have just a brief question.
Yes.
You told us that the mode of learning is either face-to-face or blended or even distance learning. At the same time, you said that you are accredited from UK. Is the distance learning accredited like the face-to-face or a blended learning one? Just one question.
Yes, that's correct. So when we accreditate our courses, we submit all the sort of modes of study, so full-time, part-time, distance learning on campus.
Mm-hmm. And you have of course a criteria for online education to be accredited in UK with BCS.
Yes.
The accreditation agency. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. If we have just one question, if someone has a question, only one question, we don't have time. We will move to the. Many thanks for this clear and interesting presentation about the master program. If anyone having only one question, it's okay. Otherwise, we will move to the next speaker. Okay. Many thanks again. Thank you. And,
thank you very much.
We will move to the next speaker. أنا بدي أعمل share screen بس just one moment. Okay. Marco, Dr. Marco, you are with us? Because there was a technical problem. Okay, many thanks.
Hello.
So we will move now to the next speaker with Dr. Marco Baldi from Polytechnic University of Marche, Italy. The title is Cybersecurity Research at the Polytechnic University. Let me introduce Dr. Marco Baldi is an associate professor of telecommunication at the Polytechnic University of Marche, where he also coordinates the local node of the CI&I Cybersecurity National Laboratory and takes part in the Research and Service Center for Privacy and Cybersecurity. He is co-author of over 150 scientific articles and one book, and holds 4 patents. His research interests are focused on cybersecurity with a special interest in coding and cryptography for information security and reliability. So, Doctor, the floor is yours. I will stop my sharing. You have also 15 minutes for presentations and 3 minutes for questions. The floor is yours, Dr. Marco, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, for your introduction. I'm going to share my presentation. Can you see it?
We see black. We see black. Black screen. Yes, now it's okay. It's okay. We can see.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you again for your invitation. It's a pleasure for me to give this brief presentation on the research and not only research activities we carry on here at Marche Polytechnic University. This is our CRISPy Center. Let me introduce the research and service center we have in privacy and cybersecurity. This center joins together 3 areas and 3 departments. The first one is the Department of Information Engineering, where I work together with some colleagues, Franco Chiaraluce, Emanuele Frontoni, and Lucas Palazzi. The second department involved in the CRISPy Center is from the Economics faculty, and it is the Department of Management with Professors Antonio Di Stasi, Federica Pascucci, and Laura Torsello. And the third department is from the Medicine faculty. In particular, is the Department of Experimental Medicine and Clinic Medicine with Professors Maria Gabriella Ceravolo and Fiorenzo Conti. What we do? Basically, we do 3 main types of activities like any other research and service center, which is teaching. We provide teaching for our courses, in particular in the area of engineering. We have bachelor and master courses in electronics engineering, computer science engineering, and biomedical engineering, where we provide teaching in the areas of cybersecurity and cryptography. Then we perform research, scientific research in collaboration with national and international bodies, and then we carry on technology transfer activities, mostly meaning collaboration with companies. We perform applied research projects and other forms of collaborations with national and international companies. Here you see a map of Italy. We are in Ancona, which is in the region of Marche. Is the main city of the Marche region, in the center of Italy, on the Adriatic coast, on the east coast. But we also take part in a national network, which is the National Cybersecurity Laboratory inside the CINI consortium, which is a consortium of national universities in computer science. And this provides a very important excellence network in cybersecurity in Italy, with almost 300 faculties and 200 PhD students and postdocs and experts and practitioners. What are the activities and the scopes of the national laboratory? Mainly, it's a national body aimed at increasing the resilience to cyber threats, the service continuity of critical systems, society awareness, and enhance protection against cyber attacks. And another important line is that of supporting the development of national standards and frameworks, which is a very important activity within the national laboratory. Indeed, in Italy, we have a national cybersecurity strategy since a while, because it was introduced in 2013 with the first decree law outlining the need for a national cybersecurity strategy. Then it was released in a first form in 2013. And then the laboratory in which we take part started to work as the academic component of this strategy. And one of the first outcomes of the laboratory was the National Framework for Cybersecurity, from which was released in 2016. Then from the framework, which is a self-assessment tool for companies or public or private bodies, a shorter version of 15 essential controls were derived in 2016. And then the National Strategy of Cybersecurity was updated in 2017. As a fourth step, we released a white book on the research directions in cybersecurity in Italy on 2018. And last year, the National Framework for Cybersecurity was revised in order to update it and also take into account the GDPR regulation. So now the National Framework also encompasses the GDPR regulation as well. And this is a very quick sketch of the national framework. You probably know that there's a very famous framework for cybersecurity released by NIST for critical infrastructures. Instead, the Italian framework is somehow inspired to the NIST framework, but it adds some tools like maturity levels and priority levels that allow to customize this framework not only to critical infrastructures, but also to other kinds of bodies, like, for example, small, medium enterprises or public administration or so on and so forth. So there are a series of customizations of the framework and of experimental applications of the national framework as well. Everything is openly accessible at the website you may read here. Another important initiative of the National Laboratory of Cybersecurity is cyberchallenge.it. As far as I know, there's also an upcoming edition for Middle East countries, and this is a national ethical hacking training and selection program. It is a very successful initiative starting 4 years ago. This year, in 2020, we just closed the fourth edition with more than 4,000 candidates between 16 and 23 years old. The main aim is that of finding and selecting young talents in cybersecurity and ethical hacking in particular. 28 local nodes participated, including us. And in the end, 518 students were selected, composing the local teams that participated to the national final competition. And after the final competition, the Italian Cyber Defender team was selected, and it will be presented on the next 15th of December in preparation for the European Cybersecurity Challenge, which is organized by ENISA each year. And in these two pictures, you may see two moments of the preparation of our local ethical hacking team. Another important initiative of the National Laboratory is the National Conference on Cybersecurity, which was held in Ancona this year. On last February, we hosted the fourth edition of this important conference, in which we have both the academic component concerning scientific research, and we also have companies and public bodies participating. We reached more than 1,000 participants this year, and this conference is continuously increasing over years in terms of attraction of private and public bodies concerned about cybersecurity. Now, let me go into some more detail concerning our main research activities. A first line of research we performed that quantum computers are becoming practical. In the computer, that, however, was difficult. IBM announced a new computer Q system 20 bits.
I don't know. You are not hearing. I don't know. All colleagues are hearing.
I think he's facing connection problems.
No.
No. Doctor, I think you have.
I can't hear him
a
either.
connection problem. Dr. Marco.
Maybe we send him an email or a message.
There was a glitch. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can
now?
stop camera. Please switch off the camera. Yes, now we can hear you a little bit.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now, yes.
I don't
please,
know. There was a.
You have still 3 minutes, please, or 4 minutes.
There was a glitch. There was a glitch. I will share the presentation again.
Yes.
Can you
still
see
have
it?
4 minutes. So.
Okay, no problem. Okay, everything is okay now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, I was just telling that quantum computers are becoming practical, and there are many cryptographic algorithms that are known to be quantum vulnerable, like RSA, El-Gamal, Diffie-Hellman, and ellipse curves, and we all use them every day in our systems. So a very important line of research is that of finding new post-quantum cryptographic systems. There are several families of cryptographic systems that have quantum resistance, like those based on lattices, on codes, on polynomials, on multivariate polynomials, hash functions, and others. And there are also some symmetric systems that can still be used. And this is an important line of research we are carrying on, also because there's a standardization process performed by NIST ongoing about post-quantum crypto systems. We proposed together with the Milan Polytechnic a suite of cryptographic systems that are post-quantum and that are called LEDACrypt. They were admitted to the second round of the standardization process, and we are still developing them independently of the outcome of the standardization process. You can find more details on the website ledacrypt.org. Another line of research we carry on here is that of malware detection based on DNS traffic analysis. You know that many malware softwares for bots use command and control connections based on domain generation algorithms. So domain names are generated by algorithms, and they can be somehow recognized in DNS logs. And we perform research on this by using machine learning and artificial intelligence solutions to distinguish between legitimate domains and malicious domains in DNS logs. Another line of research we perform is incident detection, classifying the alerts of CM systems in such a way that the human intervention is no longer required, and to distinguish those alerts which are motivated from those that are unmotivated. And this is a joint work with Alessandro Cucchiarelli and Christian Morbi. Another line of research is that of social media intelligence. This is based on crawling data from social media. In particular, one experiment was performed during the last elections, last political elections in Marche, with the purpose of analyzing trends and sentiments from social media. analyzing multimedia data and also text embedded into images and videos into multimedia objects. And then everything is processed with the classification algorithms in order to achieve a sentiment analysis and to know what kind of influence there may be from social media towards the outcomes of political elections or other important decisions that are taken at the same moment.
Okay.
Another line of research is that of forensics.
The time is over, huh?
Yeah, I'm closing. Forensics multimedia classification based on machine learning for finding potential child abuse or pornography materials, and blockchain, which is a new technology we are studying for authentication and security of biomedical data. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, please stop sharing this screen, please. Okay, thank you very much for this interesting and detailed presentation about your activities. The floor is open of 1 or 2 questions from the audience. If anyone desires to ask any question, please. Any question? Okay. Otherwise, please, Doctor, and all the speakers, please send us by email your presentation to be available for all participants after the end of this webinar, if you don't mind. Please.
Yes, of course. I see that there may be one question in the chat.
Yes, go ahead. Who Mustafa, please unmute for who. Yes. Anyway, we can share, we can communicate by email or later on. Many thanks again for your participation and your presentation. So we will move now to the next speaker. Dr. My friend Tawfiq Karam. Mr. Tawfiq Karam is Senior Technology Executive providing strategic leadership on full scope digital and technical organization in both the public and the private sector. I have already worked with my friend Tawfiq Karam at the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, where he is the responsible CIO. Mr. Karam, Senior Technology Executive with a career record of accomplishment and success in providing strategic leadership of full scope digital and technical organization across various ministry and the private company, mainly the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, recognized for consistency, driving strategic initiative and digital transformation efforts to support corporate goal, demonstrated experience in developing cost-effective technology solutions that align with business requirement. Also recognized for the ability to develop a strategic technology roadmap, solution, and the program to drive internal improvement, advanced leadership skills set with the ability to build, develop, and manage diverse workforce to meet operational objective. Mr. Tawfiq Karam, many thanks for your presence and for attendance and for your participation. The floor is yours, please.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Sabhi, for inviting me to this very important seminar.
You can share your screen, Dr. Tawfiq, please.
I'm sharing the screen. Thank you very much, and it's an honor for me to attend similar events, and hopefully my presentation will be of an added value for everyone. I'm going to share my presentation. Can you see it, please?
Not yet. Yeah.
I think I need permission from your administrator.
From Mustafa, maybe? Yes, I tell him. Mustafa, take permission.
Sorry.
You can, Mustafa, please give permission to Tawfiq for sharing his screen. He can, you have the right. You have the permission.
I need permission to share my screen. This is a message that I'm having on my desk.
Try again. You can start speaking if you like until sharing the screen. No problems. Tawfiq? Mustafa is muted. Yeah. He is muted, please. Yalla.
Dr. Subhi, Dr. Karam is now back a presenter, and now he can share his screen back again. And also I've tried to share his.
Now I can talk, but still having a problem in sharing my screen. The message is that I need permission from your side to share my screen.
You cannot share the screen.
Excuse me, Professor Subhi, perhaps
Yes.
perhaps Mr. Karam could send his presentation by email to
Yes.
to you.
Please, Tawfiq, send me your presentation and I can share, if you like. Send me by WhatsApp now or by email, please. Tawfiq, says Tawfiq, please send me by email your presentation or by WhatsApp.
Okay, I will be sending it right now, and I will start directly when you receive my presentation. 1 second.
You will send by email?
By both email and WhatsApp.
Please.
Dr. Subhi?
Naam.
Waiting for the connection and the presentation. When
Yes.
you did the review on the universities in Lebanon, any university is offering a track on cybersecurity, a degree, MS or BS level?
I don't remember. Maybe. I'm not sure if there is few. But I don't think so. There is a pure cybersecurity master degree. I don't think, according to my knowledge.
But however, at Beirut Arab University, like recently, last year, we introduced a track on cybersecurity and networks, a 19 credits track within the Bachelor of Engineering degree on computer engineering. Dr. Johanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Dr. Subhi, I sent you my presentation through WhatsApp.
On which email?
Dr. Karam, now your share screen seems to work. لأنه we can see your screen now. I can see the presentation.
هتضر أمر على كان.
But now it disappeared. Maybe you have to share it back again.
Now, can you see it right now?
And it's closed now. Maybe you can share it back again. جرب كمان تعمل share screen instead بس للpresentation. تمام, it's working. It's working.
Great.
Okay, it's working now. ضر مرة يلا. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to re-thank Dr. Subhi and the Arab University and all the attendees and all the organizers for inviting me to this very important session. My presentation will be focusing, as mentioned, on cybersecurity and mainly on our educational sector in Lebanon. Today, we'll be discussing the importance of cybersecurity in the education sector, its global challenges, and what remains to be done in the local institutions in the few years to come. Now, let's see why cybersecurity is important in the education sector. Although the education sector was the latest to engage in the transformation of our digital era, a lot of progress had occurred during the past 10 years, touching upon all areas of content preparation, delivery, and assessment. In addition to that, the outbreak of COVID-19 had led to an exponential increase in the dependency of education on technology and its deliverables and derivatives. The threat of cyber attacks has increased in 2020 with the adoption of virtual learning techniques in order to adhere to government-enforced social distancing measures. In other words, the increased connectivity of devices and utilization of internet will expose education institutions to risk of cyber threat impacting their data and information security. A recent study done by Microsoft has indicated that the education sector is the most affected sector worldwide by this cyber attacks. According to this study, 61 malware attacks targeted educational institutions. And when I say educational, I mean schools, vocational, and universities. So what are the cyber attacks really intended in? In educational institutions, there are large amounts of wide varieties of data that are of great value to cyber attackers. We can categorize those data under three main pillars. First one, personal data like emails, IDs, addresses, numbers, etc. The second category is the educational data related to projects, grades, research, and many others. And the last one, the organizational data like admission, examination, administration, and mainly financial. In 2018, a large amount of public and private entities in Lebanon were faced by multiple cyber attacks. And I think everyone knows how the attacks tackled mainly the main website in the ministry and sometimes tackled the banking sector, which highlighted the essential need of developing and implementing a national cybersecurity strategy. The highlight strategy was developed in June 2019 before the outbreak of COVID-19. Therefore, the strategy was not directly targeting the education sector. However, it can still be useful for us as a ministry in terms of implementing their recommendation based on our needs. Keeping in mind that many private educational institutions are already applying their own cyber strategies on their organizational level. Now, what is the impact of cyber attacks on education institutions? Higher education institutions usually invest more in technology than schools. Therefore, their higher dependency on technology make them more prone to cyber attacks, which is evident in this graph in front of you, where 80% of global higher education institutes has reported a cyber attacks in the last 12 months versus a lower number comparing with primary and secondary schools. Now, let's see what are the types of attacks identified by those institutions. On this graph, we can see 5 main types of breaches and attacks that have been identified in the last 12 months. And as you see, the higher education in gray, secondary schools are in light blue, and dark blue is the primary schools. As you can see, fraudulent emails and websites were identified by more than 90% of education institutions. This definitely makes sense, since the attackers can manipulate students through emotional hacking and trick them to disclose sensitive information unintentionally. In addition to that, unauthorized access to computers and impersonalization has been both taken second place, which raised the flag of privacy, credibility, and digital trust on what they mean to education world. Now, how can we explain such high number of for higher education institutions? There are many reasons why universities are considered an easy target for cyber attacks. Some of those reasons, I mentioned many of them. I'm gonna just tackle 3 main reasons. One of them, the decentralization structure. As we know that most of our faculties are independent from each other, and this can create an individual policies for each faculty, and this might be a bridge of security. For example, faculty of engineering might have a high level of security comparing to faculty of science or faculty of languages, or etc. Second one, multiple devices and operating systems. Due to the distance learning and social distancing measures, the different group of users are using their personal devices, laptops, cellulars, tablets, which might not be secure, and the updates on those devices might not be aligned with the security measures of this university. The third one, lack of budget and resources. And this is a very critical issue where the budget can be an obstacle that restricts the recruitment of security specialists and the investment in security infrastructure, because some of our institutions, maybe in schools or university, don't take this as a high priority unless they get attacked or until they lost some important data. Let us now take another perspective and look at the requirements and implementation of cybersecurity in Lebanon, especially in the educational sector, at the ministry in particular. The main challenge in the Lebanese education sector, whenever we are discussing cybersecurity, is represented by 2 main points. The first point is the lack of communication between the government and private institutions. In this area, we all know that a lot of efforts and level of investment, policies, awareness are being led by private universities or private big universities similar to BAU, AUB, Balamand, NDU, and many others. However, their experience haven't been transmitted or transformed into a national showcase or set of recommendations to be adopted by others. On the other hand, the ICT team in the Ministry of Education and Higher Education was able to populate and enforce their own policy for cybersecurity measures, taking into consideration that we yearly serve hundreds of thousands of students in terms of official exams, equivalence, and many others related services. The challenge that remains is to spread this experience over the other related public institutions for more secure environment. In front of you, we can take a look of the 10 steps that the ministry has taken or is provisioning to take to elevate its security standards. Let me briefly go through a couple of those steps. For example, the first step, which is information risk management, is related to formal cybersecurity policies. At the ministry, we are currently adopting policies on the ICT department level and provisioning to adopt the top-bottom approach of this policy to be applied in all our regional offices and in our private and public schools. Another example can be the third step, for example, which is network security. All MEHE systems, servers, data are protected by a very advanced firewall system, and we are provisioning of using SD-WAN for public schools and branches through VPN and internet. Finally, looking at step 6, which is incident management, a security operations center is currently established for the headquarters, and we are provisioning to establish of a regional incident management as well as SOC team to manage school security operations. Finally, and as a conclusion, let me talk about how to move forward. After mentioning all the above, and due to the dynamic nature of digital era, the rising dependency on technology in education sector, and the lack of communication present us with an obligation to form a steering committee among private higher education institutions, the Ministry of Education, and the Lebanese University. The main duties of the steering committees would be specifically under these 4 titles. 1, engaging international partners in awareness campaign, develop a national cybersecurity protocol for education. 3, exert pressure on members of the Lebanese parliament to draft much needed bills and regulations related to cybersecurity. And the final one, organize annual events on cybersecurity in Middle Eastern higher education institutions. And thank you so much.
Many thanks, Dr. Ustaz Tawfiq, for this very important and interesting presentation about cybersecurity in higher education.
I tried not to take time from other colleagues.
About existing problems also regarding cybersecurity and hacking, and about the strategy of cybersecurity, including higher education, and about the possible solutions that you mentioned at the end of this presentation. At the same time, Ustaz Tawfiq, unfortunately, we had a technical problem at the beginning of your presentation, and really it needs more time. So, to avoid any delay in the program, I propose to take you more time in the last session, in the panel session, I think at the end, to highlight the main recommendation again. And if you have something to send us by email regarding this recommendation, it's very interesting, especially within this time, within the pandemic and the virtual learning, the virtual webinar, everything, as you know. So I propose to postpone the questions to until the panel, and I hope, Tawfiq, you will stay with us until the end, since it's a very interesting presentation. Many thanks again to your time, to your presentation, and to your effort, Tawfiq.
For sure, I'll be attending, and I'll do my best to stay till the end.
Please, and if you send us the set of recommendation that you mentioned at the end, and it's many thanks in advance.
For sure, I will be sending them.
Shukran jazilan. Now we will move to the next session, I think. It's about the cybersecurity in academic research. The second track is on cybersecurity in research. It comprises, but not limited to, investigation related to data security, software security, hardware security, component security, connection security, system security, cross-cutting concept, integration of machine learning and artificial intelligence, and multidisciplinary aspects. So we have three speakers in this session. We have Dr. Assam Damaj from Beirut Arab University, Dr. Ramzi Harati from Lebanese American University, and Dr. Ashraf Zahir from American University of Kuwait, UK. We will start with the first presentation. Dr. Assam Damaj from Beirut Arab University received his PhD in computer science in the area of hardware design from London South Bank University in 2004 from London, UK. He received also a Master of Engineering in Computer and Communication Engineering from the American University of Beirut in 2001, and the Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Engineering from Beirut Arab University in 1999. Currently, Isam, he is an associate professor with the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at BAU, and his research interests include hardware design, smart city, performance evaluation, and engineering education. He maintains an academic website, as mentioned, www.edamaj.net. At the same time, Dr. Isam is one of the co-organizers for this event. He has done huge efforts in organizing this event. Isam, as for the others, you have 15 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for questions, and then we move to the next speaker. Isam, the floor is yours. Please, I will stop sharing my screen. Share your screen and start your presentation. The floor is yours, Isam. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Thank you, Dr. Subhi, for the introduction, and I'm going to try to share my screen. And apparently, I'm having command technical problems in sharing my screen. So if you give me just a minute, Mustafa, if you were there, you will need to give me presentation privileges. I need to log out and then log in again. Just give me 1 minute.
If you like to save time, Isam, you can start even, you can read on your presentation. You are hearing you, no problems, until sharing your screen. Please start.
He said he's going to leave and reconnect again.
Okay, the chatting, okay.
Okay, I think now looks fine. So if it happens with any one of us later today, the issue is leaving the session and then joining it back. This will enable the sharing on Microsoft Teams. Let me first thank you, Dr. Subhi, for the introduction.
Just I will tell something. Please, all colleagues, all speakers, send us the presentations. In case of there will be a technical problem, we can share from my side to avoid any delay. Please, the other speakers, continue. You can continue, Isam, by email, please. Thank you. Yalla, Isam.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank all of the participants and the attendees for the in this webinar. And my talk is on rapid prototyping of cryptographic systems on a chip. We will have a dose of hardware design in the introduction, mainly motivational in nature. We have wide spectrum of attendees, students, professionals in the fields, and researchers. And then the attention will be put on the attraction of modern embedded systems, tiny embedded system devices. And again, we will focus on programmable gate arrays, field programmable gate arrays, or FPGAs. In the following part of my presentation, modern jargons in the field will be presented, including rapid prototyping and present-day design space exploration. Then the attraction of embedded systems in security and in cryptography, more specific, and their computational requirements will be presented. And finally, I will be presenting a few active security and hardware projects within the Intelligent Hardware Research Group at the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department, Faculty of Engineering, Beirut Arab University. So let me start first with the defining 2 points in the spectrum of computing. I'm going to start with the pearl of the crown, which is high performance computing, usually known as, you can imagine it as an aggregation of computational powers and strength. And they are way of a much higher performance than desktop and workstation, or desktop computers and workstations. And they are mainly used to solve science, engineering, or complicated business problems. And those are supercomputers. They are huge in size, and they are highly high of value. On the other hand, we have those small, tiny devices. Those small, tiny devices, they are embedded systems. They are also high performance, and they can truly do a good job when it comes to computations. Those would include GPUs, graphical processing units, digital signal processors, complex programmable logic devices, FPGAs, and hybrid devices, not to forget application-specific devices like automotive-grade devices and others. Now, if we're going to focus on supercomputers, the first question to come is, what's super about it? Now, this can be summarized in 3 main indicators. The first one is the high degree of parallelism. So if you have computations, you can carry out these computations in parallel. The second dimension is the availability of high computing and communication performance. So the way the internal organization of a supercomputer, it communicates very well and at very high speeds. At the same time, such a type of computers is supported by high storage and I/O performance. So it interacts in a very fast way, and also it stores information in a very high speed manner. Looking at the top of the list of the top supercomputer, updated last June 2020, and this list was published in November 2020. Now, supercomputer Fugaku had the lead, and you could think of 500,000 tera floating point operations per second. And if you would like to imagine how many brains or how many computers there are inside the Fugaku, there are more than 7,500,000 cores. Until recently, the Summit was the top of the list, and these are truly supercomputers, and they play the role of the champ. Now, let us have a look at the hole that stores Fugaku, and this is in Japan. And you can imagine the amount of power this computer can consume. It's actually 30 megawatts. And this is a huge giant. This is the largest, fastest, the highest performing computer on Earth today. Now, let me take you to the other perspective, the tiny devices. Those tiny devices, they are as big as a palm of a hand, but they are not to be underestimated. They are very specialized and tailored for specific computations, and they can truly be combative. So it's not Superman versus any device. No, actually, it's the supercomputer versus well-selected, computing, smaller, tiny computing devices. They truly can combat, and they can truly do good performance. And not only having some sort of a hybridization of available devices led to discussions, more specifically in security, like encryption and decryption, or when it comes to working and processing. They aim at making some sort of heterogeneous computing where these smaller devices are combined with the traditional multi-core CPUs so that computational tasks are partitioned and distributed in one way or another, hoping that we can outperform the performance of regular computers. I don't want you to imagine that these small, tiny combating devices, that they're gonna fight against supercomputers. This is not the accurate view. Well, actually, these super tiny devices will work in a collaborative manner with supercomputers. They can work together, either co-processing, pre-processing, or in another processing collaboration. Now, let us look at one of them. Let us look at the FPGA from the inside. From the name of such a device, you could see that programmable gate arrays, they can be best described as C configurable logic blocks. So you have some sort of programmability, and this programmability is on two levels. So you either program the functionality of the configurable logic blocks that look like tile, and you have the authority to configure them the way you wish to perform some sort of computations. And also the interconnection between them is reconfigurable. And this reconfigurability can be done in the field. So in the lab, at home, in system, when this hand palm size device can be plugged into your home PC. And then you can configure this device the way you wish. You would like them to work like in a data parallel manner, in a pipeline manner, in a systolic fashion. You just imagine what you can do with such programmable, versatile, highly flexible.
Dr. Sam, you still have 5 minutes. Huh?
So looking at the such devices can enable what we call rapid prototyping. So when you so that you write your code using regular programming language, like you could see here, like in an equation, and this equation is automatically transformed into a chip or in a hardware on that field programmable gate arrays. And there are many available legacy software tools like the modern port, and also traditional programming tools like MATLAB, LabVIEW, with their compact trio and FPGA targets. They are all implemented. And this rapid prototyping means that you write your program in the same way you do for regular programming. However, this will be automatically synthesized into a hardware chip. And this brings us to the second, let's say, jargon in the field, which is design space exploration, where you look at your synthesizable model that fits an application, let's say security and cryptography, and you look and you have some sort of an architecture available in hand, and you try to match them together. So upon synthesis, this would provide the best performance. And here I'm mentioning the word formal, as we would like to avoid traditional testing, because in the hardware realm we work with, for example, 10 to the power 100,000 states, which is more than the stars. I don't want to test them one by one. It will take forever. So we would like to build correct hardware by construction, and we would like to avoid real-time problems. Like we don't want a mission to Mars to crash like what happened in 1999 because of an uninitialized variable. Now in cryptography, the attraction for hardware, especially if FPGAs are for many reasons, you can, those devices, you can upload a new algorithm to this device without changing the device. You can tune a device, and by changing some properties of the algorithm, like a new standard has been produced, or you can even do some architectural modifications to achieve higher performance. And with performance, we mean like time, temporal, spatial, and power consumption savings. And we have experimented with different algorithms, including the IDEA, the Rayandal, which is the current standard, the AES, the Serpent, and the Kazumi, that they can actually run in either data parallel or in a nicely pipeline. Let me present a couple of topics that is currently active as a project, active, and the Intelligent Hardware Research Group. Let me please present the mission of the group, where the group is looking like it's a dynamic constituent of its wider community, and aims at making world-class research contribution, disseminating knowledge, and building collaborations. And our main aims are hardware design, performance evaluation, smart cities, and the integration of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also we are targeting different cybersecurity applications. I'm gonna mention the titles of 3 projects currently running in the research group. One of them is hardware software co-design of massively parallel cryptographic algorithms with formal flavor, starting from functional specifications to network of communicating sequential processes from mathematical perspectives. And we have a compiler which is in further development that compiles into partitions, FPGA and CPU implementations. And the compiler name is TCC Haskell to Handle C compiler. It was initially developed in 2016, and it's currently under upgrade. Another a project which is under investigation is to eliminate the mathematical notation from the specification, and you propose a graphical way of drawing your hardware design, and then it will be automatically compiled into FPGA. So we are trying to think more abstract, and we're trying to compare to compile to the more concrete. Another investigation that we have now running, which is creating performance evaluation framework for tiny encryption algorithms to make an adequate or accurate classification of what they claim to be tiny cryptographic algorithm, so that we truly classify them into how tiny they are. And currently, we have 2 students in the research group targeting this performance evaluation framework and its extension. One last slide is our current projects on connected, autonomous, and electric vehicles. And we're creating criteria for quality of experience in smart cities. And one of the most recent developments that was published last week in the journal Vehicular Communications that presented a complete criterion on security and drawing a clear relationship between security in CAEVs in smart cities and what would make or what are the indicators that would influence quality of experience. Dr. Subhi, that's the end of my talk. I hope I didn't exceed the allocated time.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Assam. Thank you for your excellent presentation, and stop your share screen, please, also. I don't think that we have enough time, if just only one question, if someone having any question, but please raise your hand in order to unmute you by the organizer. This is one. Second, also, if there will be a technical problem, for example, with our next speaker or any speaker, please just sign out and then sign in. You can have everything will be okay for sharing the screen. At the same time, I would like to address another message to document this webinar. Please, all of the participants, I hope you turn on your camera to take just some screenshots for the documentation of the webinar and for the attendance of the webinar. But please turn on your camera to document the event. It seems no question, Dr. Assam. Thank you very much. We will move now to the next speaker. I will share my screen before. Dr. Ramzi Harati from LAU. Dr. Ramzi, you are hearing us? Dr. Ramzi Harati.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Ramzi Harati will speak about information reconciliation and information system, but let me introduce Dr. Ramzi. He is from Lebanon, Lebanese American University, LAU. Dr. Ramzi Harati is an associate professor of computer science in the Department of Computer Science and Mathematics at the Lebanese American University in Beirut, in Lebanon, of course. He is the chairperson of the Arab Computer Society. He is also program evaluator for CSAB at ABIT. He received his BS and MS degree in computer science from Minnesota State University from US, and his PhD in computer science from North Dakota State University, Fargo, North Dakota. His research interests include database management system, artificial intelligence, and multi-level secure system engineering. Dr. Ramzi, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction here, and I already logged out and logged back in, so hopefully, the presentation will go smoothly now. Can you see my share screen?
Not, I think not yet. Yes, final, excellent. Now okay, it's okay, no delay.
Very good. Okay, so the title of the presentation is Information Warfare Towards Reconciliation. This has to do basically with attacks on information bases and how we'll be able to recover from them. Let me just make the screen bigger here. So just a glimpse on security, since I actually was part of the establishment of many of these particular committees and guidelines before I enter my topic. So security is really a catch-up game, So big organizations and big governments and big Department of Defenses did not actually factor in security when they wanted to design computer systems and applications on top of these computer systems. So like if you take the 60s era and 70s era, the NSA, the National Security Agency in the US, formed something which is known as Tiger Teams, whose main task is actually try to hack into systems and figure out whether they're secure or not. They didn't have any guidelines basically of how to hack into systems. It was basically an ad hoc manner. They just put a group of people in a room and tell them, hey, here's a system, go out and attack it. So there was no really a systematic way of figuring out whether a system is secure. This actually, continued until the 1981 year, where the United States Department of Defense established something which is known as the National Computer Security Center, whose main task was actually to ascertain that all of the computing equipment that are used by the Department of Defense are actually secure. So as part of that effort, basically, they established something which is known as TCSEC, which stands for Trusted Computer Security Evaluation Criteria in 1985, which is basically, guidelines and criteria and rules and stipulations in order to make systems secure. They started out with operating systems, basically. That's what TCSEC is all about. And the cover of the book was actually orange, so it was loosely known as the Orange Book. Then they moved on to dealing with security network components in a book which is known as the Red Book, Trusted Network Interpretations. And then they moved on, thirdly, into the Lavender Book, which actually tackled information systems. Okay, and they classified systems back then basically into different groups, D, B, C, and A. D was the most secure, D was the least secure, and A1 was actually the most secure. Okay, and they wanted to achieve a general form of security by the year 1992. So there was a main phrase that was going on back in that era, which is that we want every system to be C2 secure by 92. C2 secure basically means that we provide discretionary access control to systems, much like the systems that we use nowadays in terms of operating systems, network components, and database systems. Then they moved on basically to enhance their TCSEC guidelines by establishing something which is known as the federal criteria, which was the next version of the TCSEC. And then basically other countries in the world, such as UK, Canada, France, Netherlands, and then later on basically Australia and Germany, caught up onto this particular effort, and they want to make this an international effort, so that if a system is evaluated to be secure in the US, it will receive the same evaluation in Canada, in France, in the Netherlands, in the UK, and so forth. And they established basically security levels, which they called evaluation levels, EAL1 to EAL7, and 7 basically being the most secure system. From thereafter, basically, they established something which is known as protection profiles, which is basically what the customer desires for a particular circumstance, for a particular system setup. And that's basically, where we are actually today. We want to secure systems based on their installation, if you will, whether it's an air vehicle, whether it's a ship, whether it's a submarine, whatever the system actually may be. So in terms of information, if you want to focus on our talk today, basically, there are 3 pillars of threats to information. One of which basically is loss of integrity. We wanted to ascertain basically that only proper modifications happen to our systems and no improper modification take place. We want to concentrate on making our systems available. So we care about making our systems, accessible to if you will, qualified users at all times. We want to prevent, if you will, denial of service attacks. And the third pillar basically is confidentiality and the loss of confidentiality, which means basically we want to prevent unauthorized users from reading actually our information. Those are the 3 main pillars actually of threats. So in this talk, what we've been working on at the Lebanese American University in the master's program basically is to ascertain that we can repair these information systems, if you will, after an attack takes place. And we want to do that in the most expedient form possible. And in particular, basically, we want to focus on healthcare systems. Our colleagues previously, Dr. Tare and the rest basically talked about attacks on the educational sector. Well, also basically attacks happen on the healthcare sector as well. As you probably heard in the news in the past couple of weeks, basically, many hospitals in the US are facing ransomware attacks, where basically, attackers hijack data, patient data basically, and ask for ransom money in order to release the data. So it's basically very critical, if you will, basically to ascertain that our healthcare data are secure, and in the notion that they do not get secure, that somebody attacked these particular sets of data, basically we're able to recover in the least amount of time possible. So imagine basically, a healthcare system being attacked, would lose basically, patients' data. They would know actually about prescribed medication. They would know basically about past surgeries and personal information of people, of patients, if you will. And that's a no-no basically in this day and world, specifically when it comes to the privacy of patients. So if a healthcare system gets attacked, basically will have damaged data. Then the data becomes inconsistent, corrupt, if you will, basically, and the database should be taken offline in order to ascertain basically that we fix the problems and basically bring it back online again. So this offline period needs to be minimized big time, because we cannot actually afford patients without actually their patient data. So these attacks may result in denial of service. The system becomes offline. Exposure of sensitive information, as we said there, basically healthcare complications, and may basically if somebody takes and attacks our data, may result in the death of those particular patients. Take this well-known case into consideration, basically. So we had a nurse in Germany whose name is Niels Hogel, if you will, who may have actually killed up to 300 patients in a hospital, believe it or not, basically. So what this guy was actually doing, basically, is that he's going into healthcare information systems at his hospital, if you will, and changing the prescribed medication for patients, so that these patients would need to be resuscitated. So they would call on this Niles hero, if you will, basically, and he would rush to the emergency room and try to resuscitate these particular patients. So he likes to be a resuscitation Rambo because he was able to resuscitate many of these people, but he basically caused over 300 people to actually die, if you will. So he was changing basically, if you will, the data in a particular database to prescribe overdose medication to particular patients. So what we need to do basically is that once we figure out that this bad element has actually corrupted the data, we need to take the system offline and expediently, if you will, basically be able to bring the system back to a consistent state, if you will, in the least amount of time possible. And this is the notion of our work over here. The framework of our information reconciliation is that we need to have basically as a pretext an intrusion detection, which actually figures out what are the bad elements that are causing an attack on the system. And basically they are listed in terms of information system, in terms of transaction IDs. So what transaction IDs are causing, if you will, my data to be corrupt? Once I get, those list of transactions, bad transactions from the IDS system, intrusion detection system, I would actually work on a damage assessment system, basically to figure out what are the damaged transactions and what transactions read from these damaged transactions, because they themselves now become corrupt, if you will, basically directly and indirectly. Okay. And once I figure out basically the complete set of damaged and affected and the transactions that read from these basically damaged and affected transactions, I have to be able to recover them using the log, if you will, to render my system actually, operational again, reconciled again, if you will, basically. But I need to do that again, basically in the least amount of time possible in order not to bring it basically the system offline. And here's basically our research. So we looked at this particular problem from a variety of perspectives. So we wanted to ascertain basically that we catch the dependencies of these particular transactions together. So how best basically we can capture how transactions are dependent on one another. So if we catch basically a bad transaction, we would figure out what are the other transactions that are dependent on these bad transactions to undo their effects, if you will. So we looked at various structures to handle that. One of our initial structures was actually a matrix structure, whereby we capture the list of the data elements in a particular system and the list of transactions. We assume that the transactions are rigorously serializable as they're basically posted in this particular structure. And we identified some entries that mean several things in that structure. For instance, a 0 means basically a read operation that we don't care about. If it reads basically, from a data item that was not actually previously affected, if you will, right? One is for a write transaction, and then we put some positive transaction IDs and negative transaction IDs. They actually mean different things. So a positive ID means that the transaction read from another affected transaction, and a negative transaction ID means that that transaction read from several bad transactions. So each one of those particular cases, whether it's a 0, it's a 1-bit, positive transaction ID and negative transaction ID needs to be treated differently. So, if you will, the framework of this approach is that we get, the information from the intrusion detection system telling us which transactions are bad. For instance, transaction ID 25, 28, and 33, and we feed it into our model basically, and we deal basically with the entries into this particular matrix, if you will, to figure out whether we need to skip something, we need to deal with one transaction, or we need to deal with a bunch of transactions. And in this case, basically, we start with transaction ID 26, since our transactions are rigorously serializable one after the other. So that was the initial approach, basically, to capture dependencies, is with this matrix-based approach. Then we moved on basically to figure out, well, matrices take space because the structure is static, so it contains a lot of sparse information. So we need a better approach than that. We moved on to linked lists, basically, whereby we try to capture the dependencies of transactions based on linking them together. And this is a linked list of transactions. That was our second attempt. And we did some work actually there. The third attempt basically is that we wanted to work with them as in an intelligent way. So we created basically an agent-based approach to identify the dependencies of these transactions. So we created something which is known as an agent controller, which is sort of like the overall manager of our dependencies in my system. And we classified the data based on the most meaningful way it can be classified. For instance, basically in this example that you see before you, if you will, we divided the data among the north sector, the east sector, the south sector, and the west sector, if you will. And under each area, we grouped the transactions that are acting on data in that area. For instance, in the figure that is shown in front of you, basically, we have under the east area, we have two transactions, T2 and T3. And T3 in this scenario basically is dependent on data from T2. That's why basically they're linked together, if you will. Whereas basically we have two other transactions, T1 and T4, that are currently working on data in the west sector, and they are not dependent on one another. So they're not linked, if you will, except to the area itself, the west area, if you will. So we created an approach basically to deal, with undoing the effects of these bad transactions. So if an attack takes place, it gets identified by an intrusion detection system, who sends basically our agent controller the list of bad transactions that we have. In this case, basically T2. The agent controller basically, figures out where in my sub areas, the north, east, south, and west, basically, this transaction belongs, and it figures out that basically it belongs to the east. So it sends it basically to the east component, if you will, basically. And moving off to the left-hand side of the picture at the very end, basically notice that the transaction T2 is gone now. And since there are no other transactions that are dependent on it, we don't need to do basically pretty much anything. We just basically stop there. We compared our approach basically to traditional approaches. Traditional approaches basically require you to visit the entire log. And this is what we're trying to avoid in our work, because if you visit the entire log, if you rely on the entire log to do recovery.
4 minutes.
Okay, sure. I have a couple more slides. If you rely on the database log to do the entire work, that will take a lot of time, if you will. So different approaches basically work differently. Basically, our approach, which is the green approach that you see in the figure, is actually compares well in terms basically of damage assessment time. So we're able to actually construct the list of damage transactions in the least amount of time compared to the traditional models, clusters model, visiting the entire logs, subcluster models, and the like. We also basically ourselves been working on this for quite some time now, if you will. We talked about the matrices, we talked about the linked lists, we talked about the graphs, if you will. And we did enhancements basically to a lot of these approaches and published them in different venues, if you will. Right now, basically what we came to the conclusion is we see the green line basically there, which is the current model that we just published, if you will, which deals with the graphs. This basically gives us the best performance out of the different models that we tried. The matrix models with its different variations, the linked list with its different variations. The reason I mean variations basically because we can capture dependency at the transaction level or at the data level. So different schemes for that. And right now, basically, the graph-based approach seems to work best, and that's what we have in the green model over there. And also, we studied basically memory consumption. How much basically of a footprint this will have on our system. And basically, again, the graph approach basically has the least footprint in terms of memory consumption, how much memory we need to actually capture that. The others take quite a bit of memory because, especially the blue one, which is actually the matrix one, since we will always have that matrix ready for us, even though it's fast to manipulate, by using bits. But nevertheless, we need to have that static structure present there, and that basically gives us a major hit as far as memory consumption is concerned. So, as my colleagues have previously said, the world is actually moving into blockchain technology, and that's where we're actually currently working on. as current work, and it's for future plans, if you will, because we want to actually study, if you will, information reconciliation in terms of a distributed approach, because a lot of things are actually distributed now, and the blockchain approach basically fits perfectly with that because it's a distributed ledger. So we're actually working on that in conjunction actually with fog and cloud computing. Basically, we want to bring the data as much as possible to the end user with the fog computing approach. And this is what my team of researchers basically are engulfed with right now at the Lebanese American University at the master's level. Thank you very much. I hope this is just was enticing to you, beneficial to you. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them. And I'm going to stop sharing now.
Of course, Dr. Harati.
I'm hopefully on time.
No, you are on time, full. Me. Thank you for your excellent presentation, Dr. Harati. Thank you for your input. Just a question. We know cloud computing. What's the difference between cloud computing and fog computing?
So,
this is the first time I heard. I'm not in the field, but I know, I'm aware about the cloud, but fog, this is the first time. What's the difference?
So one way to perceive the difference basically is the cloud. You don't know where the data actually is. It's just stored somewhere on the cloud. With fog computing, basically, those are the nodes that are closest to the users. Okay, so we want to bring the data as close to the users as possible. So I'll take an example basically. Is عندي مستشفى بالنبطية that is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and all that stuff basically. I want to basically to make, even though عندنا وزارة الصحة اللي مثلا موجودة ببيروت, I don't want basically to deal with data that is موجودة ببيروت. بدي أقرب لها الداتا basically لمحافظة النبطية as much as possible, to a fog node basically in that particular area. So just basically bringing the data as much as possible to the end user.
Okay. Many thanks. Any other question for Dr. Harati? Please, anyone who will raise his hand to unmute the microphone by the organizer, please. If no questions, we can move to the next speaker. It seems no. Many thanks, Dr. Harati, for your presentation and for your participation. Many thanks. So I will share my screen for the next presentation. I think it's happening. What? Share screen, yes. Our next speaker is Dr. Ashraf Zahir from the American University of Kuwait. He will speak about chaos for cybersecurity. Dr. Ashraf Zahir is a professor at the American University of Kuwait. He has 2 PhDs in system engineering and control engineering from Auckland University's MIUSA. He also worked as an associate professor in Kuwait University and as a consultant and a programmer with both General Motors and Valeo Automotive, MIUSA. He participated in many projects, received many grants. He has plenty of publication in both international journal and conferences. His research interests include virtual engineering, nonlinear dynamic, hybrid signal processing, engineering physics, chaos, and engineering education. Dr. Ashraf, you have, I hope you will be able to share your screen and we don't have a technical problem. You have 15 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for additional questions. The floor is yours, Dr. Ashraf. Please.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. I want to double check that everyone can hear me.
Yes, and your screen is shared very well.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah. So you can see my screen and hear my voice.
Yes. Everything is okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, first I would like to thank all of you for this opportunity and for this nice gathering. The topic of my talk is going to be somewhat different. I'm going to talk about chaos and how we can use it for cybersecurity. First, I'm going to divide my talk into 3 sections. In the first section, I'm going to give a quick idea about cybersecurity from my perspective or from chaos perspective. Then I'm going to explain the techniques of chaos. And then I'm going to come up with a simple example so that we can appreciate how we can use chaos for cybersecurity. For cybersecurity, of course, we have a problem of how preventing attacks, how to maintain privacy. And if we try to have a look at cybersecurity very briefly, we can see that back in the 80s, for example, All the data were maintained on mainframes with very limited people that have access to them. So really, we didn't have a problem of security or privacy. Everything was well maintained. So the source of the problem came because of the unlimited connectivity that are currently provided by the internet, for example, okay, by the introduction of IoT, by including IoT in industrial applications, by the new generations of cloud computing, fog computing, and edge computing. Okay, so as you can see, we can easily tell that the problem of cybersecurity is highly correlated to networking and to trying to establish secure communication and maintaining the integrity of the data. This is what I'll try to prove so that I can pave the way for how we can use chaos for such purpose. Of course, these are the types of attacks that we can have at the individual level. We can have malware attack, we can have phishing attack, we can have man-in-the-middle attacks, and this is one of the most important attacks that I will try to handle in this talk, because this involves, as you can see, being in between the user and the data. Okay, we can have I think there is some voice in the background. Do you agree? Yeah, okay, thank you. So again, I was talking about the types of attacks at the individual level, also at the corporate level. These attacks can be posing lots of dangers, lots of money, okay, because we can have a denial of service, for example, which is devastating for governments, for banks, for service providers. So what we would like to do is we would like to, of course, reject these kind of attacks, introduce more robustness in preserving the integrity of the data and in establishing secure communication. In order to do this, cybersecurity involved with too many actions, for example, like hiring professionals for providing ethical hacking, okay, because such case, if you have ethical hacking, you can easily find out the loopholes in your system and try to tackle them. You need to improve the architecture of the networking and the protocols for security. You need to have security officers for the information systems. And this requires many of us to have more depth and more information about, for example, using virtual machines, okay, about using low-level command lines like PowerShells, for example. We need to know about system administrators in order to solve these problems. We need to know about networking. And finally, we need to know about digital security. So these emerging jobs or these emerging needs are all because of cybersecurity, okay? In all, what we need to do is we will try now to think of what are the possible ways that we can promote cybersecurity. From my perspective, the problem in a nutshell is if we can maintain secure communication from one point to another, if we can preserve the integrity of the data and prevent hackers from reaching it, this is how we can apply cybersecurity or achieve the required security levels that we need. For doing this, I'm going to be specific to using cryptology or applying new techniques for cryptography so that we can protect our data. And for doing this, I'm going to explore chaos. Okay, we know that chaos is an old science. It has many different definitions, many different meanings depending on your perspective. So chaos is different from mathematicians, from computer science, from information systems, from physicists, from engineers. So I will try to approach it from a different perspective, which is from an engineering physics point of view. And I'm going to show how we can use chaos to achieve such purpose. Okay. So what we need to do in general is we need to protect our data by doing some sort of encryption. This is at the sender. At the receiver side, we need to know the opposite process by doing encryption, then doing decryption at the receiver side so that we can retain the old data. Of course, encryption is very old, starting from the Caesar method, where we can only use, for example, something that is very easy, okay, by only adding 3 more bits to the word that we're using. So, for example, something like attack at dawn can be hidden. But of course, ever since, many methods for encryption and decryption evolved, including, for example, steganography and watermarking. All of them can be used to protect and preserve data. Now, for chaos, first I want to come up with a definition. What do we need to know about chaos and how we can use it for something like cryptography that is very useful for a topic in cybersecurity. We have many different definitions for chaos. I will try to go through them very quickly, but at the end, my main goal is if we can use chaos in applications like secure communication and true random number generations. So this means that it is a candidate for cryptography, and of course we can use it in cybersecurity. A very simple definition for chaos, all of us will expect that it's a measure of disorder, like, for example, entropy in information systems. But from physics or from engineering point of view, it is a dynamical system that is deterministic, which means that it follows some rules, some laws. It is not random, but it is very sensitive to initial conditions. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? The very brief history about this, we had a scientist he called Lorenz. This was back in the 60s. He was trying to run a computerized simulation, and then he stopped the simulation at a number like 0.506127, and then he returned it back and he turnicated into 0.506, and he completed the simulation, and he found that he got entirely different result. Every time he tries to repeat the same thing, he got the same result, which means his system, although described by differential equations, were very sensitive to initial conditions. Every time you will get a different behavior. Let me show you an example for it. Okay, this is what is going to happen. Okay, if you look here, we have 2 different systems starting with slightly different initial values, and as you can see, the 2 systems behave exactly the same, but at some point they will be diverging, and although they started exactly at almost the same initial values, at a certain point they will behave as entirely different systems. This is the meaning of chaos from engineering point of view, which is sensitivity to initial conditions. See, now we have 2 different systems, and this is the meaning of chaotic systems. So chaotic systems are systems that are deterministic. They're not random, but they can, as you can see, behave in different ways. So this guy, he was using the exact model, and he was using also an abbreviated model. And if you look at the mathematics, they are very much involved, but we reach the same result each and every time, that these systems are very, very sensitive to initial values. For chaotic systems, we have many examples in analog systems, in digital systems. Okay, but now because of the introduction of the digital technology, there is no really clear boundary between them. Anything that is done in analog system can be easily converted to a digital equivalent. When analyzing chaos, okay, we have the 2 mathematicians that came up with many different techniques so that we can discover whether these systems are chaotic or not. All what we need to do is to find out whether the difference between 2 initial conditions will diverge or converge in the future. Okay, now in conclusion, and this concludes the second part of the talk, is we can use chaos for secure communication and for random number generation, and hopefully what we can do is we can try to use them for cryptography and cybersecurity. This shows you the most important characteristic of any chaotic system is that by changing the parameters of the system, okay, the system becomes chaotic, which means that here we have period 1, then the system has 2 periods, 4 periods, 8 periods, and then You have chaotic system. Chaotic system means it will never repeat itself again. It will go forever, but it is bounded. The most important thing to notice is please look at the power spectrum. It looks like a white noise, which means that if I can hide the data inside this chaotic system, it will look like a white noise. So hackers and intruders cannot get the information easily from the public channel, whether this channel is the internet, whether it is the cloud, it is whatever. So this is the main issue, or the connection between chaos and cybersecurity, is that the power spectrum looks like white noise, and all what we need to do now is to think of some cryptography algorithm by which we can hide the information that we want inside the chaotic system. As a receiver, okay, we can force the same chaotic system to behave exactly the same as the original system by establishing something called synchronization. Synchronization between two systems is an easy task for control engineers, okay? So this is now what I'm gonna try to do. For the history of using chaos in secure communications, there were many alternatives that were used. For example, we can add the signal directly to the chaotic signal. We can use the signal, if it is digital, for example, to switch between two different chaotic systems, okay? We can use the signal to modulate one of the parameters of the chaotic signal. The fourth generation came with crypto systems in which we can apply cryptology. So we can add some encryption functions and decryption functions as the receiver and the transmitter, as you can see. Finally, to have a better utilization of the communication channel, we can use impulsive synchronization, which means that we're only using the signals at intermittent times so that we can have better bandwidth utilization. Okay, now to give just a quick example, if we focus on the Lorentz system, this is one of the most famous chaotic systems. It's a third order system. It looks like deterministic. As you can see, these are very easy equations, but it behaves entirely chaotic, which means it looks like a random signal. If as a transmitter, okay, you inject an encryption function and you applied at the signals that you want to transmit through the communication channel, which is public, okay, you can use the states of the system, you can use the parameters, and you can use both of them. So it's up to you to make the encryption function complicated or easy as an XOR function, for example. All what we need to do as the receiver side, you will need to establish synchronization so the two systems will be exactly the same. Any intruder trying to access the communication channel will get something that looks like a white noise. He will never be able to extract the signal. Why? Because the chaotic system keeps on changing its status all the time. All what we need to do is to observe some states. And as I said, using, for example, some techniques from control engineering, you can establish an error between your states as the receiver and your states as the transmitter. And you try to come up with a control algorithm that will minimize this zero and bring it to zero. Once you can do this, you can faithfully reproduce the original variables or the original parameters, and you can use them in the decryption function. While doing this, you can use many things. You can use, for example, cipher keys. Okay, you can assume that one of the parameters is known and shared between the transmitter and the receiver. You can assume that all the parameters are unknown. So it's up to you to decide on the level of the system.
You still have 3 minutes, Doctor. Huh?
Yeah, okay, that's okay, thank you. So as you can see here, I used a very simple encryption function. It's analog, but again, you can easily convert it to a digital thing. And when you recover the signal, you're gonna find that you can easily restore your data. And this applies to any kind of data. For example, you can have plain text, you can have audio, video, images. You can use it for many kinds of signal. This was a simulation result from one of the runs that we did. And as you can see here, we have nice results that the constructed signal is very similar to the original signal. Okay, you can use, for example, this signal as a cipher. You can choose any patterns that you want, and you can keep it real-time changing all the time. So this was the original signal. This is how it will look like in the communication channel. It is not even close to the original signal, which again means that the signal is completely scrambled. At the receiver side, you can reconstruct the signal. It might be noisy, again, using kind of filters and some digitization, you can reconstruct the original signal with a minor time delay. And you can easily do this using, for example, simulation-based. You can convert this to an HDL code and upload it to an FPGA, and you can do it in real time. So this is in general. I hope I just inspired or motivated you that chaos can be used for cryptography, and cryptography is something that is really desired for many applications in cybersecurity. What we can improve, how we can improve this, for example, is by relying on something called hyperchaotic systems, which means these systems are more complicated, have higher dimensions, and it's going to be much more difficult for the intruder to gain access to any information. The nature of the system, chaotic systems, especially analog ones, can correspond to any type of system. For example, they can be implemented optically, which means you can reach speeds up to femtoseconds, for example. They can be belonging to a chemical sensor or a biological sensor. So imagine that you can validate your data, for example, using some chemical compound or some biological process. You can deal with many different signals, as I said. You can do it in real time or offline. So in case, for example, you have a slow or intermittent connection, you can do it offline. You can do it analog or digital. You can use many techniques from mathematics and control engineering to achieve what you want. At the end, I'm reaching out for you, for example, so that we can have a multidisciplinary team consisting of engineers, computer scientists, information systems, mathematicians, so that we can try to approach this field. It's a pioneering field, and it is really very interesting. And we can have, as I said, some nice implementations that depends on digital technology or optics or lasers. We can even use quantum keys for doing this. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop here. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Please stop. You can stop your sharing screen, please. At the same time, many thanks for this excellent presentation, up-to-date presentation regarding chaos in cybersecurity and its use, especially within this period. Please, if you can send us your presentation,
I will, inshallah.
And we will communicate for sure in the near future for future cooperation with you. If there is any question, we have 1 or 2 minutes for questions. Otherwise, we can move to the next session. Anyone desiring asking a question? Okay, shukran, Doctor. Many thanks again. And now we will move to the next session, which is about cybersecurity in industry, in which we have 3 presentations. The third track, as I said, on cybersecurity industry, it includes topics related to modern security technology. Okay. It includes, as I said, topic related to modern security technology and services, enterprise security, sensitive data for the public good, standards, digital transformation, financial services, e-business, banking, and more. The first speaker with us is Dr. Johanna Mugarak, Head of Protect Lab in Lebanon. Dr. Mubarak is a cybersecurity researcher, a peer reviewer, and a lecturer at USG and USEC. Currently, she is heading Protect Lab and the Protect Academy. She holds a master's degree in network security system and a PhD in computer science and networks from San Jose University and Beirut, USG. Dr. Mubarak has worked also in multiple cybersecurity domain, overseeing different security solutions, and her research studies deal with network security, malware analysis, and the blockchain. And of course, he is a member of the Syndicate of Computer Scientists in Lebanon, I think. So, Dr. Johanna, the floor is yours. Please, you can start. You have, as the others, 15 minutes for presentation, and we will have 3 minutes for discussion and others. Okay? Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Doctor, for presenting me.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Okay, go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. We can hear you very well. No technical problems. Thanks God. Go ahead.
God, let's begin.
Okay. تفضل.
So I'll be starting by introducing Potek. Our group has been in the market since 2002. Today, Potek is a group of 6 entities, each offering specific knowledge, technical expertise, tools, and services. Potek Consulting is a specialized IT and cybersecurity advisory company that focuses on making information system performant, secure, and resilient. Potek Academy for training and coaching. Potek Lab is dedicated to academic research. I'm proud to mention here our cooperation agreements with the Lebanese University and USG. Obisoft is the software engineering arm of Potek. Potek SOC provides managed security services for the detection and response of cybersecurity threats. Nigma is the latest addition of Potek Group. Nigma is a security, business intelligence, and consulting firm. My presentation today is on the dark web, which hosts a number of illegal activities such as selling or buying hacking tools, stolen data, digital fraud, terrorist activity, drugs, weapons, and more. So what is the Tor Network and the dark web? So the web in general is composed of 2 parts, the surface web and the deep web. Surface web, also known as ClearNet, makes about 4% of the World Wide Web. All its content is easily accessible to anyone. On the other hand, the deep web, the subset that is not searchable, consists about 96% of the total World Wide Web. Its content is not accessed or indexed by any standard search engine. Academic databases, medical records, financial records exist somewhere in the cloud, but are not searchable on search engine. However, the dark web is a subset of the deep web. It is the anonymous part of the deep web that you can only get access to through overlay networks. To access the dark web, an anonymity software such as Tor should be used. So the darknet is the hidden part of the web, on which a large traffic of illegal activities and services is organized. The Tor network is probably the best known part of the darknet. It gets its name from the way the data is encrypted, stacking the encryption layer like onion peels. This data is then sent according to a circuit made of nodes that are randomly selected. Each node can only decipher its peel of the onion and only knows the IP address of the previous and next node. Tor provides anonymity, masking users' connection. Hence, the risk of finding the origin of request is practically impossible. So using Tor, you can protect against internet surveillance and traffic analysis. Illustrating dark web honeypots. So a honeypot aims at deceiving potential cyber criminals. It is a trap set to detect, deflect, or in some manner counteract attempts to access a computer system that appears part of a network, but that is actually isolated and monitored, and which seem to contain information or a resource valuable to visitors. So we can distinguish between 2 types of honeypots. We have the production honeypots and the research honeypot. The main goal of a production honeypot is to divert the attacker from the real running system. As for the research honeypot, the main goal is to understand how the black hat community is evolving. So in this project, we implemented honeypots on the dark web. The implementation consisted of 3 fully secured virtual machines. The first VM is a research honeypot that consists of a chat room web server hosted on the dark web. The second virtual machine is a vulnerable web-based honeypot that provides cyber services. The last virtual machine is an ELK log server where all the logs from the dark web chat room and the cyber tool web-based honeypot are collected and stored. Tor hidden services was installed and configured on this virtual machine, and a darknet domain was generated for each site. So the first honeypot was set to collect the chats from the darknet, and the second honeypot provided hacking services. Our results. For the chat room honeypots, the firewall blocked more than 700 connection requests. A number of script attacks were deactivated for several consecutive days. More than 400 username and password were locked. Some users even tried to test our onion site. Major requests dealt with child pornography, 50%, hacking requests, 10%. Some remarkable posts included HTML injection, mega account, ethical hacking links, pornography picture link, random link, onion mail service provider. As for the cyber tool honeypot, the firewall blocked more than 600 connection requests. SQL injection was highlighted and succeeded to delete the table in the database. The honeypot was targeted with script attack for 4 consecutive days, happening at the same time with the same amount of packets. A few Android manager hacking services were requested as well. So in order to make our chat room more efficient with faster replies and don't rely on manual intervention, the next phase of this project was to leverage AI as an automated reply tool, a chatbot, for the chat room honeypot. Deep learning itself is an approach to machine learning, and it uses what is recognized as neural network. Our first naive darknet bot was based on Cornell movie dialogues corpus dataset. After importing the Cornell movie dialogue corpus dataset and cleaning the question answers pattern, the data pre-processing included the tokenization and creating word-to-end dictionary. The phase 2 consisted of building a sequence-to-sequence model. Sequence-to-sequence is a type of encoder-decoder model using RNN, recurrent neural network. It can be used as a model for machine interaction and machine translation. As for the results are not convincing and not adapted to a chat room honeypot. The replies were not appropriate as a response to the question, and the messages were not adequate and out of topic. Therefore, the model and dataset were changed. For our second model, our advanced honeypot model, so for the dataset were selected inspecting the data, being in English and taken from darknet forums, more specifically Silk Road and Wall Street. Both operated as a Tor hidden service on the dark web. User requests are anonymous and secure. Silk Road was the first online black market, mostly known as a rostrum for selling illegal drugs, and considered before its closure as the largest online store in the world. The Wall Street market was formerly the world's second largest darknet trading platform, specialized in the sale of illegal goods and false documents. The platform had more than 1 million users account, 1,000 supplier and item available for purchase. So before beginning to train, data processing must be performed. We have used here the transformer model. It is a model that uses attention mechanism, allowing the decoder to pay attention to the different part of the input sequence, sentence in our case, and not to the sequence as a whole. The model learns how to generate a context vector for each output. The model was trained, and testing results convinced us having a good answer to inputs. So as we have seen, sequence-to-sequence rely on recurrent neural network and LSTM layers, which with our sequence lengths might have set them to fail. The transformer model, on the other hand, uses much more complex layer, notably multi-head attention and positional encoding that have a mathematical foundation, which make it prone to parallelization and enables our model to keep up with the sequence on a large scale without being impacted by its length. Another investigation here for the dark web, the 8,000 link case study. So in this study, we aim to build a program that takes URL as input and output the category of the website or the onion. So our proposed solution is a machine learning algorithm that evaluates and predicts the category of a website by comparing and evaluating several models to achieve the result. So according to our evaluation of machine learning approach, we concluded that the best methodology here is to implement a supervised learning algorithm. 5 categories has been assigned to label the data, namely pornography, medical and drugs, weapon and assassination, hacking, and cryptocurrency. So we started by building the bag of words. We created the term frequency inverse document frequency vectorizer. We assigned label to each document and split the data set into 2 parts. Then we trained the data set and tested the model. As for the results, so we concluded that a huge number of the website was down or changed their URL, which is very common in the dark web. Out of 8,000 links, 525 websites responded and were categorized successfully. The reason behind failing to analyze the remaining website is because some of them are down and the other have good security standard that will detect scrappers, although such results are expected in the dark web. So when the 525 websites are filled out into a Python set, which will remove duplicates, we deduced that some are duplicate links, and we have 267 unique links only. Out of the 252, 67 websites belong to the pornography, 62 belongs to medical and drugs, 48 belong to weapons and assassination, 65 hacking, and 10 to cryptocurrency. So looking into the table, we can see that top category on the dark web is pornography, which is the most powerful electronic industry on the surface and dark web. At the second place, hacking category takes place. What could a hacktivist want more than a place to do his things anonymously? Medical and drugs and the weapons and assassination comes after, whom are services offered on the dark web. And as we can see in the table, they are found quite often and in huge numbers. Lastly comes cryptocurrency. So in last year, cryptocurrency became part of the surface web, and e-commerce websites started using it openly, which decreased their popularity on the dark web. So to end here, Ubisoft, one of Potec subsidiaries, have developed Darkivore, a dark web scrapping tool that looks through the Onion router network and collects all websites that can be found. It scraps deep and dark web onion for leaked information in the cyberspace, allowing to identify advanced threats and prevent attacks. More tools by Potec. We have TACE. It is a SIEM solution. So TACE centralizes and correlates log information coming from different sources for advanced threat hunting and compliance reporting. Logs on blockchain. It collects logs from centralized and decentralized sources to store them on the blockchain. So it provides strong data integrity for breach detection, analysis, and investigation. And we have Enigma, the exhaustive blockchain compliance solution in order to comply with anti-money laundering regulation. So Enigma can be used for transaction tracking, wallet clustering, and entity tagging, and the flow of funds analysis. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this presentation. And please, if there is any question from the audience. Okay, I will ask you a question myself. So, why your product, one of the, it's Honeypot? What do you mean by that? And why this name? And what does it mean? In the presentation.
The Honeypot?
Yes.
In fact,
yes.
honeypots can be implemented.
Why this name? Why this name? Why?
The bot.
Yes.
I combined I combined the honeypot and the chatbot because
Yes.
I implemented a tool for that reply automatically with the honeypot. This is why I changed it to honeybot.
Okay, please, if you can send us your presentation also to put on the website and to send to all participants later.
Yes, yes, of course. It's
Many
already
thanks.
sent.
Many
Dr.
thanks
Subhi,
again.
I have small question.
Yes, go ahead.
How much use your product are on the market in Lebanon?
Excellent question. Yes.
In fact, we have started with Darkivore and Taste. So with Darkivore and Test, we started using them from 1 year now. So, and currently we are developing blocks on blocks, and Enigma it's used as well.
Ms. Johanna, there is a question from the audience on would you offer courses in dark web investigation?
Yes, we can schedule courses for dark web, not for investigation, but we can schedule how we can access the dark web and what we can find there. So yes, of course.
Excuse me, this course can be done as continuing education, or how it can be done?
Yes, for continuing education. So it's not easy to access.
How long this course? It's how much time? It's 5 hours, 2 days.
5. We can talk a bit academically, then we can do some labs. Yes, it depends. It depends how we will be offering it. So it can be 5 hours and it can be 2 days. It depends how much we will go into the dark web.
Anyway, many thanks for your presentation. And of course, I hope we will have future cooperation within Elegant project as well as with academic institution. And thanks for this interesting presentation again. So let's move.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Let's move to the next speaker now. The next speaker is Mr. Ruslan Al-Abaji, Head of Customer Delivery, Cisco System, Saudi Arabia. He will talk about cybersecurity challenges and opportunity in the Middle East region. But a long time ago, Ruslan, ahlan wa sahlan. Let me introduce Engineer Ruslan, telecom professional with 18 years of experience. He graduated in 1999 from Beirut Arab University with Isam Damaj, I think, with ABS in electrical engineering computer, and then he completed his master in computer engineering from KFUPM in KSA in Saudi Arabia by 2002. He started his career in Huawei from 2002 to 2005, and then he moved to Ericsson. Since 2008, he has worked with Cisco, and today he is leading Cisco Saudi customer experience delivery for major regional services provider. You're welcome at your university, Ruslan, and the floor is yours. تفضل. Are you hearing me, Ruslan? Ruslan, are you hearing me? Dr. Isam, is there any problem with our colleague Ruslan?
I'm checking with him.
Please. If there is a problem, Ruslan, please sign out and then sign in. I think it will be okay. Maybe you have technical problem. Mustafa, please check for a solution, please. It seems Rustan is out now.
He has technical problems. He's trying to log in again.
Okay. We'll see. Salim, you are hearing us, Salim Atani?
Dr. Subhi Raslan is loading. He is on the way in.
I'm hearing you, Dr. Subhi. Also, this is Salim Aitani.
Habibi Salim. So we can wait for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's not okay, we can start with Salim. Otherwise,
so give him a minute. Lano he's trying to. It's loading on his side.
it's not connecting yet. طيب, to save time, if you like, I will until Rustan is connected, I will introduce the next speaker. Yani, Mr. Salim Aitani, who is a telecom expert. He will talk about cybersecurity challenges in telecom sector. Not only on IT, IT and telecom are merged anyway. Salim Aitani is equipped with Master in Computer Communication Engineering, Executive MBA, and currently pursuing a DBA program. Throughout the past 18 years experience, Salim gained a strong background in managing telecom networks, whereby he demonstrated strong skills in telecom solution design, products development and innovation, strategic planning, programs and project management, operation management, team leadership, people development. Wait one moment, Abu Yassam. People development and coaching, budget management, vendor management, tender management, and contract management. Yes, Isam. Rustan is okay.
I think Rustan is having problems. We can start with Salim.
Salim, okay, no problem. I hope he will join us, Rustan, again. Salim, since I introduced you, the floor is yours. You can start your presentation, please. As before, 15 minutes for presentation, okay? Shukran, Salim. Faddal.
Thank you. I'm trying to share my content. Just I need privilege, I think.
Mustafa, seems there is a problem with sharing screen.
Okay.
It seems it's okay. Okay.
Hope you're able to see my screen. Is it possible?
No, we don't see your screen yet. Also, it seems there is a technical problem. Mustafa Salim, you can be able to share his screen, please.
Salim, I think you might want to try leaving and then rejoining.
Please sign out and then sign in, Salim.
Okay.
presentation is most of them.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, Salam.
Okay.
Try. Okay, done.
Done?
Salim.
Thank you.
Done.
Thanks a lot.
Mm.
So my presentation is on cybersecurity challenges in the telecom sector. Again, thank you for the invitation. It will be straightforward, discussing the threats and the available solutions in the telecom sector nowadays. As you may know, the cyber criminals excessively challenge the telecom network worldwide. They steal confidential data or insert malwares from customers or on customers' network. They conduct DDoS attacks and other broad-based attacks. Actually, the threats on telecom networks are increasing exponentially year by year. The GSMA predicts that the threats to industry will continue increasing over time. Indeed, as an example, in year 2018, 43% of the telecom companies were victimized by DNS-based malwares, and 81% took more than 3 days in order to provide solutions like critical security patch resolutions. The security threats are more challenging with the emerging technologies like 5G, IoT, and NFVs. As you know, the IoT, along with the 5G, will get into 3.2 billion connections in the coming 3 years period, whereby today it's around 700 million. So we can imagine the possibility of attacks that's going to happen due to the availability of billions of connectivities of machines towards the internet. Also, need to know that the cybersecurity ventures are predicting that the cost of cybercrime damages will be around $6 trillion per year by year 2021. I'll give an example on the cyber attacks on smartphones. I'll state, for example, Lebanon. In year 2018, we had 4.6 million subscriptions, all in all, as number of subscriptions in the telecom companies, whereby 86% are using smartphones. And worldwide, we had 200 million cyber attacks in year 2018 on the smartphones themselves. So you can imagine how the effect of smartphones is enabling the data breaches, knowing that 37% of increase in phishing attacks were done in the first 3 months of year 2020. Now I'll start by discussing the main cyber threats in the telecom field, starting by discussing the SS7 and diameter signaling threats. As you know, that many of the core telecommunication services are powered by SS7 or diameter nowadays. And SS7 protocol is known to be breachable in terms of cyber threats due to the easy interception of its authentication process. Also, need to know that implementing better signaling control on most telecom companies is not possible due to the overall complexity of the network connectivity, the privacy concerns within the telecom networks, the global title use, I mean by that the global title lease mainly, the complicated network configurations, and the traffic reliability, which is known to be very good when using SS7 and diameter. Indeed, the use security measures to mitigate the SS7 attacks generally in the telecom companies are mainly, as you can see, when implementing the SMS home routing. The SMS home routing is indeed a middleware whereby all incoming SMSs to the customers are routed towards something called an SMS router. The MSS router has an anti-spam functionality whereby it filters the SMS prior reaching the customer directly, and if it's not notified as malicious, then it will be stopped there. The second major used measure to mitigate the SS7 attack, as you can see, is the availability of transit filtering, like having a transit media gateway or a transit international gateway for the sake of filtering prior it reaches the customers. Another main cyber threats in the telecom is the SIP hacking. And as you all know that the SIP is mostly used for voice over IP communications, and it's another target for cyber criminals. The cybersecurity threats regarding SIPs are SIP.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Now, regarding the SIP hacking, the SIP cybersecurity threats are mainly the SIP trunk hacking, the SIP toll fraud. The SIP toll fraud is used for international connectivity, and the eavesdropping along with the caller ID spoofing in SIP. Now, the best practices for protecting SIP signaling is to enforce the strong encryption over TLS and RTP to protect the data transmissions, which is available nowadays in most telecom companies. The implementation of anti-spoofing for SIP messages, and also to maintain a strong SBC controls in order to perform deep packet inspection of all SIP messages and prevent unauthorized SIP traffic. The other main cyber threat in the telecom sector is the DNS attacks. And I personally witnessed multiple DNS attacks whereby its effect were outrageous on the telecom network and mainly the customers. For example, in year 2017, one attack costed one of the mobile operators more than $600,000. And as you can see, the next year it was it raised to more than 42%. The telecom providers, indeed, they have the highest volume. I mean by that 30% of customer information stolen through DNS attacks, which is high compared to the healthcare, the banking, other public services, and the education sectors. There are 43% of telecom companies whereby they were victimized in terms of DNS-based malwares. And most of them, they needed more than 3 days to apply critical security patches. Now the DNS prevention, the best practices used for it is to implement a real-time analytics for DNS transactions and build a behavioral threat detection suite capable for detecting known and emerging cyber threats. This is available also in many mobile operators. However, it's not 100% online. It also needs to enhance the firewall with machine learning driven responses policies on the suspicious traffic and host names, which is also not available in most of the telecom companies today. Also, to implement query monitoring and logging for all suspicious endpoints. Now, the other type, which is main type of cyber threats in telecom, is the known DDoS attacks. And the DDoS attacks globally is the main threat over all the telecom companies, whereby 65% of the global DDoS attacks in year 2018 were aimed directly to the telecom service providers. And the figure is growing year by year and remain high in year 2020. The biggest issue in the DDoS attacks is that the telecom operator or the infrastructure gets into large-scale attacks, and it could create the domino effect. And accordingly, this will affect directly the customer who is connected throughout the infrastructure transporting this attack. Now, the telcos are used to protect against DDoS attacks multiple solutions. First, as the first line of defense, most of the mobile operators in the telecom sector are using the access control list. However, the increase of use of access control lists, which is built to resist the large-scale attacks, it can have major performance impact on all the routers, hardware, and software. So though it's efficient, however, it's not complete. The other scenario is to use the implement black hole scrubbing. The black hole scrubbing is used to redirect the traffic to a different physical interface once received by the mobile OPCO to something called a sub-scrubbing center. This scrubbing center can filter the good traffic from the malicious one. And many of the vendors today, they offer such kind of solutions for telecom providers. Finally, the need and the use of real-time DDoS monitoring, it is today a must, and it's not available in many of the telco providers. It is in fact the best tool, and it should be powered by machine learning functionality in order to detect with high accuracy and progressive way the increase in malicious attacks these days. Now the generic recommendations throughout the challenges that we're facing regarding the cyber attacks, that the protection of telecom networks against cybersecurity is a must. In fact, we need all to switch from the reactive process to a proactive security process. And we need to rely on the online monitoring with predictive capabilities powered by artificial intelligence and advanced analytics. We need also to conduct proper risk assessment for current systems. In fact, we need to decentralize and automate the core security requirements with appropriate tools. I mean by that, by not having the same entity that is concerned with the telecom service to be also concerned with the security requirements. Also need to run a deeper assessment for the emergent technologies like IoT, the 5G, and network function virtualization, which are also additional triggers in terms of cyber threats. Finally, we need to increase the awareness. We need to educate the telco employees on deep dive with the cybersecurity threats and solutions. And we need to invest and have a budget approval for suitable and latest technologies in this regard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Salam, for your intervention and for the presentation. Especially it's on telecom this time. I would like to ask you a question, Salam.
Yes.
At the end, you addressed some recommendations, but yes. in Lebanon, do you have a real strategy or a real action plan or time plan for these recommendations for yes. the cybersecurity? Where we are exactly?
Thank you for your question, Dr. Subhi. In fact, in Lebanon, we have many studies done and many strategy inputs regarding cybersecurity. The latest was done 1.5 years back by the Ministry of Telecom. There are many recommendations from a legal perspective towards awareness and also to the adaptation from a technical perspective. This is all put in terms of document. However, and unfortunately, it is not implemented as it should be. Okay, so you have a good documentation, you have good plans, but not implemented. The implementation, as it says, it requires a lot of awareness, it requires a budget, it requires the selection of the advanced solutions like use of advanced analytics and artificial intelligence and machine learning, and not just getting pieces of solutions from vendors and adapt them on the network themselves.
Okay, thank you, Salim, for your presentation again. Many thanks.
Thanks a lot.
And to avoid any delay, please stop. You can stop your sharing screen. And I invite Ruslan now I introduced you, Ruslan, before. You can start directly, Ruslan, sharing your screen, and you can start the presentation. As I told you before, you have 15 minutes for your presentation. Please.
السلام عليكم جميعا و thank you for the invitation. صراحة بشرفني إنه أكون معكم بهالمؤتمر، خاصة إنه جامعة عربية يعني في القلب دائما. Thank you دكتور صبحي and thank you دكتور عصام. I just want to share from my side.
Hoping you will be able now. What's happening, Mustafa? Mustafa, what's happening?
I'm calling him back in. لأنه he will not be able to share the screen.
Because he signed out and then he signed in.
This is a problem that we're having in Teams actually on daily basis.
Please, Isam, to save time, if you have the presentation, share the presentation and let him in, please.
All right. I'm calling him.
Call him just to sign in and share the presentation, please, if you have the presentation. خليني اعمل انترودكشن للبانيلست، شو رايك؟
دقيقتين بس عشان ما نوقفوش.
Let us give him a minute لأنه he's trying to he was dropped from the call.
If you like, I can introduce the panel to save time. The speaker for the panel. To save time. Okay.
I'm gonna invite him in.
كيف؟
I'm gonna invite him in لرسلان كمان. Meanwhile.
If it doesn't work, but in this time I will.
Okay.
I will share the screen for the panelist to introduce the panelist to save time.
تمام.
After that. So until our colleague Ruslan will join us again, the last session is to close the conference. It's a panel discussion within the framework of Erasmus Plus project, the Elegant Enhancing Teaching and Learning and the Graduate Employability through University Enterprise Cooperation, a cybersecurity perspective, which will be moderated by the Dean of Engineering, Dr. Adil Al-Kurdi. I will introduce Dr. Adil myself. Dr. Adil Kurdi is the Dean of Engineering, is currently the Dean of Faculty of Engineering, Beirut Arab University, and a professor of the Civil Engineering Environmental Engineering Department. He received BS and MS degrees from Alexandria University, 1977 and 1983 respectively. In 1988, he completed his PhD Civil Engineering at Alexandria and Imperial College University in London. His academic career began in 1977 as a researcher student assistant fellow in the Structural Engineering Department at Alexandria University. He then took a permanent position as an associate professor in civil engineering at Alexandria University 1993 and 1999 respectively. In 2005, he became an executive manager of the engineering center in Alexandria University, and in 2006 he was the vice dean of engineering for development and environmental affairs. And in 2009 he became the dean of engineering of Alexandria University until 2011. He was also the engineering consultant of the president, the chairman of the board of engineering center, the scientific computing unit and the reproduction engineering at the Alexandria University. Professor Al-Kurdi published widely and contributed to the development of the Egyptian standard and the Egyptian code in the field of construction material, area of research. Specialism include novel construction material, quality control and inspection of building and evaluation of concrete strength, renovation and rehabilitation of concrete structure. Our panelist, Dr. Iraj Hashi, University of Dubrovnik, Croatia. First of all, I would like to address my thanks to Professor Iraj for his excellent coordination of the elegant project, and we are very happy to cooperate with Professor Iraj for his commitment, his efficiency, and all of his efforts. Dr. Iraj is an emeritus professor of economics at Staffordshire University, Stoke-on-Trent, United Kingdom, where he has worked since 1978. He also has a part-time appointment as professor of economics and assistant to coordinator of the Elegant project at the University of Dubrovnik, Croatia. He has a long history of working on European projects going back to early 1990s. We worked within Professor Iraj other two projects, I think 8 years ago. He has previously worked with the Lebanese University in the framework, as I'm talking, on the Tempus project Aspire about entrepreneurship involving Beirut Arab University and Modern University of Business and Science. Our second panelist, I think, Dr. Bassem Al-Qaisi, my colleague and my friend, where we worked in more than 15 Tempus and Erasmus Plus projects together. From Modern University of Business and Science. I hope you are hearing Bassem. Professor Bassem Al-Qaisi is currently the Vice President for International Affairs at the Modern University of Business and Science in Lebanon. He has over 20 years of experience, as I'm talking, in human resources strategy consulting and as a higher education consultant and expert. He speaks and consults throughout the Arab and European country on a variety of higher education and management topics. Professor Qaisi coordinated and participated in more than 50 research, capacity building and mobility projects funded by the EU, World Bank, AUF, and UNESCO. And of course, Professor Qaisi is, or MUBS, is a partner of this project. Our third panelist, Dr. Johanna Mugarak, from the Syndicate of Computer Science in Lebanon, and as I said, the Syndicate of Computer Sciences in Lebanon is a partner of the Elegant project, and Dr. Johanna represents the syndicate in this project. Dr. Johanna Mugarak is an associate professor at the University of Balmain and the vice president of the Syndicate of Computer Science in Lebanon. She is involved in activities related to building entrepreneurial skills among students and faculty members, building the bridge between the industry and the academia, and what are the scientific practice organized in good process that help reaching the good product. Her research interest fall into software engineering in general, and more particularly software processes and best practice, software quality assurance, development methodology, and software assessment. She has supervised many final year projects where some of these projects won prizes as good startup idea, and she served as a jury member in different national and international contexts. I would like also at the same time, before forgetting, to thank Dr. Johanna Mugarak and Professor Iraj for helping us in the organization of this webinar and providing us with some excellent speakers. So I introduced the speaker to save time. I hope Isam, where we are, Isam, regarding our colleague Ruslan.
Ruslan sent me the presentation, Doctor. I have his presentation.
Because
he will log in.
He is with us now. He's with us now.
He is not yet with us.
إذا
بتحب تخليه as part of the panel would be great.
Yes, I propose to give him إذا بدك 5 minutes to present during the panel and to have some comment. I will give the floor to Professor Adel Al-Kurdi to moderate the panel discussion webinar. Hoping all colleagues are with us, Dr. Iraj, Dr. Basim, and Dr. Johanna, and our friend Salim also.
Yes,
all of you.
Yes, we are here.
I am here too.
All of you. So the floor.
Thank you for the nice words.
أهلا وسهلا دكتورة. أقل الواجب هذا. This is the reality, دكتورة جمانة. Many thanks for you. So I give the floor to Dr. Adel Kurdi to address his. Dr. Adel.
Dr. Adel needs to unmute his microphone.
Yes, speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Subhi. Can you hear me? Yes, I open.
Okay.
We can hear you, Dr. Adel. We can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Subhi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be a moderator for this panel discussion on enhancing teaching and learning and graduate employability through university enterprise cooperation, a cybersecurity perspective. Our first speaker today will be Dr. Iraj, followed by Dr. Basim Qisi, and then Dr. Johanna Mugarak, and then Mr. Salim Aitani. We have only 5 minutes for every speaker, and we will start with Dr. Iraj now. Dr. Iraj, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Al-Kurdi, and thank you very much, Professor Subhi, for your kind comments. Listening to this wide range of
mute. Dr. Iraj?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, Professor Al-Kurdi and Professor Abu Shahin, for your kind comments. I go straight into to my comments. Having listened to the wide range of presentations about the relevance and importance of cybersecurity in education, as well as in all walks of life, industry, commerce, medicine, and all other areas, it's become so important to regard cybersecurity as an integral part of our daily lives now. The most important thing that I picked up is the importance of having a national cybersecurity strategy in every country. Many countries, particularly in the Western world, do have this cybersecurity strategy, but not all countries do so. And Lebanon is an example, despite the fact that the elements of it has been around for a while. And another related institution, which in the UK I am aware of, and I think my colleague Tomasz referred to it in his presentation, is the National Cybersecurity Center, which coordinates all cybersecurity related activities and research, and monitors the development of cybersecurity infrastructure, from human resources to equipment in the country. Although individual units in a society, like individual universities, individual banks, individual telecom companies, they all have an interest in protecting themselves against malwares and cyber attacks. Really, it's quite obvious that we need a collective approach to preventing the ill effects of cybersecurity. And this is it's very important, and it is again part of the national cybersecurity infrastructure. That collective action needs to be taken as well as individual action. The second point I would like to raise is the importance of cybersecurity in terms of employability. I mean, this is an area where, unlike many other technological change, which has replaced workers with machines and effectively reduced the importance of work, these are new jobs and better paid jobs that are being created. And it is so important that universities prepare themselves for this. The increasing use of IT facilities and distance learning and e-commerce and e-government and other electronic transactions has highlighted the importance of cybersecurity, and people who can deal with who can prevent and b deal with the impact of cyber attacks. University enterprise cooperation becomes crucial in this area. We have had a survey of 100 Lebanese companies recently on what they thought was the shortcoming of university programs in various areas of computer science and computer engineering. And cybersecurity was definitely highlighted as one of the areas where the employers think that the graduates are somewhat deficient. So it provides us with an opportunity to improve the teaching of cybersecurity and in that way improve the opportunities for students in IT departments and to improve their chances of employability. I stop here and maybe have some comments later, depending on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your interesting talk. And now move to Dr. Basim.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you, Professor Adel. I would like first to thank Beirut Arab University for the invitation to address the closing session of this webinar. I wish to extend my congrats to the webinar organizing committee for hosting a very successful event today, which has brought together a broad range of stakeholders for discussion on key global cybersecurity issues, which bring with them both challenges and opportunities. Thank you as well to all speakers for an outstanding job, sharing with us their valuable knowledge, insight, and experiences on modern cybersecurity in higher education, academic research, and industry. At this stage, please allow me to share with you my own 5 reflections or recommendations related to the webinar topics. In addition to the recommendations presented, very constructive and interesting recommendations presented by Dr. Karam and Mr. Itani, please allow me to share the following reflections or recommendations. Generally speaking, the cyber domain as a system is composed of 3 layers: the physical layer, the logical layer, and the social layer. While most presentations today tackled the cyber domain with a focus on the physical and logical layers, the social layer is also critical and relates mostly to our elegant Erasmus Plus project activities. For example, in what relates to the skills of people working in cybersecurity, curriculum changes and updates, enterprise hiring, and expected skills. I will share with you based on the relevant and limited, actually, literature review requirements for the future cybersecurity workforce. 6 traits I found by reviewing the literature. First one is systemic and creative thinkers. Second one is team players. Third one is technical and social skills. And here I mean that normally the cyber domain tend to focus on the technical aspects, ignoring the critical piece in the cyber system. I mean here the human resources. The fourth one is commitment to the organizational values and ideals of the country he or she belongs to, then lifelong learning to avoid becoming outdated given the rapid change of technology. And the last one is communication skills, especially that those cybersecurity professionals might be addressing an audience sometimes that does not have a technical background. My second reflection relates to governments in our region. They cannot determine actually the future of the internet, digital networks, and cybersecurity alone. The involvement of industry, civil society, higher education, and internet experts is absolutely essential, and any attempt to move forward without their participation will fail. A public-private cooperation is highly recommended in this regard. My third reflection is about the regional and local debate on cybersecurity issues. I think personally that this should be accelerated as it has not sufficient intensity so far to match either the aggressive rise in threats, as we have seen on several occasions and in more than one place in the region, or the booming nature of the opportunities, especially in employment of cybersecurity professionals. My fourth reflection relates to the need to respect individual rights of privacy and to provide proper protection to intellectual property. I think the European model for information privacy protection with the GDPR would be a good starting point here. My last reflection relates to the COVID challenges. Actually, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a huge strain on the global economy, with some experts predicting a recession as part of the after effects of the pandemic. My advice here or recommendation is that organizations need to update their business continuity plans and remote working policies and practices while treating cybersecurity during post-COVID-19 as a strategic priority. Once again, I thank you all. I thank all those who have taken part in today's webinar, elegant project webinar, and look forward to working together to build a secure, resilient, and trusted global digital environment which will benefit us for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bassem, for an interesting talk. And now move to Dr. Johanna. Dr. Johanna, the floor
yes,
is, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I want to say that I am very happy to participate to the webinars held under the Elegant project activities. The effort and hard work of professors and colleagues of partner universities and associations resulted, I think, in good outputs. We are having a good number of attendees that I hope they are benefiting from the topics, the discussion, and the future collaboration. As for the topic of today, I have two main points I want to highlight, beside the importance of cybersecurity. First, the need for collaboration at a national level to create what we call a network of labs, having members from the government, from the industry, and from the university, taking care of all topics related to cybersecurity. And second, the need to do what was presented in one of the presentation, what we call the awareness campaign related to the cybersecurity importance and cybersecurity product, assuring that all what we use is secure and we are having a good level of this advanced security in manipulating the information. At the end, I want to close by saying we will have the chance to get access to all the presentation, and almost in all of them, we had the recommendation. So I invite all attendees to go to these presentations, look at the recommendation, and benefit from everything. Thank you all for attending, and I hope we can meet another time.
Thank you, Dr. Johanna. And now move to Mr. Salem Itani. Mr. Salem Itani, the floor is yours, please.
Thanks a lot again for giving me this privilege of discussing cybersecurity in the telecom sector. Hope you're hearing me out. Yes.
Yes.
In alignment with the panelists, I totally agree with all the inputs made, and it's right on the spot, all the discussions made. Just to focus back on the industry and business requirements regarding cybersecurity, and I'll discuss mainly the telecom companies. The telecom companies, they have, and I believe they have many mandates to be done in order to enhance the cybersecurity protection. First, there is a high need to raise the awareness for citizens. And citizens, they need to be vigilant in maintaining the security processes for their own personal use. And this cannot happen unless an awareness is raised regarding the citizens themselves in Lebanon. Also, internally and in each telecom company, that we should have a higher priority when discussing the legal and security measures within the daily operations in terms of security, legal and security measures. We need also to ensure having the right resources, the right manpower to plan and decide and then implement the multiple layers of security technology, just like Dr. Bassem discussed today. Finally, we need to implement and enhance the processes and available procedures, which are, till today, most of them put on papers but not executed properly. And this should be considered as a major task going forward. Finally, also worth mentioning that the budget for the right solutions, especially when we're discussing machine learning and artificial intelligence, the right budget should be set governmentally in order to invest in these advanced solutions to be able to protect against advanced cybersecurity threats. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Salem. And now, if you allow me to leave the floor to Dr. Sobhi. Dr. Sobhi, please.
Okay. Thank you all. I think our colleague Ruslan Abaji is again with us, and he sent his presentation to Isam Damaj from the organizing committee. Isam will share the presentation, but please, for concluding, I will give the floor to Ruslan to speak about for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I will conclude. But meanwhile, please, I insist, please switch on your camera. We'll take photos for the documentation of the webinar. Please, all of us, turn on your camera, especially the speakers, please.
Dr. Sobhi,
the floor is yours now.
Dr. Sobhi, when there is screen sharing, then you can't have many people in the photograph. So you have to do it when there's no screen sharing.
So maybe Dr. Subhi, we can do it after the slides are.
Start.
Okay, Ruslan, are you with us?
Yes, are you sharing?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Ruslan. Go ahead.
Sorry again for the technical difficulties. I will try to be very quick.
Turn on your camera. Is all of us, Dr. Zahir, Dr. Iraj, Johanna, all of us, please turn on your camera to take photos, please. Ruslan, you can start.
Yeah, but I don't think the slides are shared.
I have my camera open, but I don't see myself.
Mustafa, is Ruslan please unmute Ruslan. Mustafa.
Can you see the slides?
No, you are muted, Ruslan.
How about now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Now?
Can you see the slides?
You can hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yes.
So can you see the slides?
Yes, I can see the slide now. Okay. Okay, let's start directly from slide number 2. So can you hear me, guys? Is it clear? Okay, so I will start, Isam, and from your side, just flip to the slide number 2, please. So in the current world, you know, with the digital transformation, cybersecurity comes on the heart of it. So in a study done by Deloitte in 2019, the top-ranked initiatives worldwide for cybersecurity is coming in as a 14% out of the total. So 14% of the digital transformation initiatives is in cybersecurity. This is in 2019. Of course, with the COVID-19 and work from home, this has increased this year. Forbes in 2000. $3 billion annual revenue worldwide in 2020, which is out of it, 33% only is on cybersecurity, cloud security protection. Can you go to next slide, please? So when we come to our region in the Middle East, in 2019, we divided into before and after Corona. So before COVID-19, it was around the projection until 2025, from 16 billion today until 28 billion. After COVID-19, this has increased by $2 billion. So we have $29.9 billion projection with an annual increase of around 13.8% in annual growth rate. From my own experience in the region and the demand in the market, we have a huge demand requirement, and the shortage of qualified resources at the moment in this area is a big gap. So one of the challenges for cybersecurity and digital transformation is the lack of experience from engineers in this area. Or the lack. It is very difficult to find these engineers. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia alone, it holds the highest market share in the Middle East. With the technological advancement in 5G, cloud IoT, and digital transformation, these are the main drivers, but also the government regulation, the soaring, the cybersecurity incidents, and the cloud technology, and of course, the growth of utilization of internet after the COVID-19. Another study by USSABC that in Saudi Arabia, a cybersecurity market in 2019 was around 2.9 and projected to become 5.6 billion by the year 2023. Next slide, number 4. So we all know about the corona effect. I will not go into the details, but I can tell you COVID-19 is accelerating the use of internet, accelerating the attacks, accelerating the need for assuring the business quality and the continuity of operations. Chuck Robbins, CEO from Cisco, he said in the beginning, in last month, in November, so that there are great opportunities ahead of us as business race toward digital transformation. Microsoft head, the CEO Satya Nadella, is also projecting 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. So in the last, from April to July, the world saw a complete transformation equivalent to 2 years. Can we, I will not talk about the Cisco slide number 5. This will show Cisco portfolio. We have a big portfolio. We have a strategic alliance with Thales for the threat intelligence. And we are one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the cybersecurity worldwide. Can we jump to slide number 7, please? Isam? Okay, in this area, and I wanted to touch base and give some guidance for the new generation. There are three domains to focus on: the doers, and these are the people who will implement the security policies, who are protecting the assets and the boxes, the firewalls, the appliances, who are maintaining and operating the security systems and working in security operation centers. This is the entry level. This is the first level. It does require some certification. We'll go through the certifications. The next level is the verifiers. These are the people who will verify that these controls are implemented, will do some assessment, will verify, execute compliance checks, and drive initiative across the organizations. The third category is the thinkers. These are the people who will put the strategy, who will transform the business requirement to security deliverables, who will also develop information security governance and report to the executive and the business leaders. Quickly, in slide number 8, I will keep it for reading. I will share the slide for reading. These are the main certificates that the students, the fresh graduates, needs to obtain to get into the doers, like Security Plus, CCNA, CCNP. This is a field, a great, anyone starting in this domain will have real in-depth knowledge of security operation and will have the confidence and the experience to excel in other domains. If you are a student and you like the role that have highly intensive interaction with technology, hands-on, and you like to work with devices, this is the role for you. And you can start from here. Can we go to slide number 9? Slide number 9, as we said, this requires more experience, at least 2-3 years of experience. And these are the certificates like offensive security, ethical hackers, CISA, and certified data privacy solutions. Slide number 10, these are the thinkers. These are the people who will work as CISO, security governance officers, and policymakers, security consultants. This is the start of becoming very experienced, and needs at least 5 years of experience and some certifications. If you like to have critical thinking, if you are a leader, if you like to work in risk and compliance, this is the area for you. Thank you very much. I don't want to take more of your time. I think you can refer to the slides for the details. And thank you all. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties.
Thank you, Ruslan, for your contribution. And of course, we insisted that you are with us. And finally, we solved the problem. Many thanks for your presentation. And at the end, I would like to address my thanks to all of speakers. But before the speaker, I will address my thanks again to the European Union to finance the Elegant project, to the University of Dubrovnik in Croatia for coordinating this project, to all colleagues from all partner institutions, to all speakers, everyone, to the organizing committee, Dr. Adel Kurdi, the Dean of Engineering, Dr. Isam Damaj, Associate Professor at the Electrical and Computer Engineering, Dr. Ali Zared, Professor Ali Zared, Professor at the Computer Science Department, and of course, Engineering Mustafa Al-Bizri for his huge efforts. And also, I will not forget the IEEE BAU branch and the ISME BAU branch and the Intelligent Hardware Research Group, who also helped a lot in organizing this webinar. At the same time, I invite many thanks to all presentation and many thanks to the panelists also. I invite all the participants, especially the speakers, to send us if they have any additional recommendation, even including Euroslan, for this webinar. So this webinar, of course, has been recorded. We will send you the link for all of you. I insist on sending us all the presentation to put on the project website. And at the same time, we will draft a brief report about the webinar, especially the recommendations, as Dr. Qaisi highlighted that also, from the Ministry of Education and Higher Education point of view, from the Ministry, from the telecom sectors, from the IT sector, all of that. So if you have any additional recommendation, you can send us by email, and we will draft our recommendation, and we will send you again by email. At the end, as I said, this webinar is from a series of webinars. Two have been done yet by organized by MUBS. This one, and I invite you again for the next webinar about emerging trend in ICT entrepreneurship and innovation and educational and industrial perspective. Also, it will be held under MS Teams platform. And Mustafa, I invite you again to solve the problem of technical problem today for sharing. Of course, usually we have problem, and we thanks God we could solve all the problems, which will take place also next month on December 9th, 2020. Again, many thanks for all of our guests, all participants, and hoping to see you in the next webinar. And not only this, hoping to have cooperation with all of organization participating in this webinar. Many thanks.
يعطيكم العافية. Thank you very much. And same from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Subhi.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Merci. شكرا سارة.
Bye bye.
شكرا جزيلا. يعطيكم العافية.
تسلم ايديك. Beautiful.